Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Residents of Evil. Thank you all so much for joining us as we go through our full in-depth spoiler discussion review on Resident Evil 9 Requiem. As you can see, I am joined by a lot of people. So real quick, I'm going to give a shout out to everybody here, but thank you guys so much for coming by. We're going to be talking all things Requiem tonight, so there will be spoilers, so I just want to give you a heads up. We're going to be breaking it down, discussing it, things we liked, things we disliked, and kind of we'll rate it kind of where we think it fits within the series. But my name is JJ, and today I am joined by host of Let's Talk a Resident Evil. We got Anthony. Hi, Anthony.
What is up, everybody? Good to be here to talk some RE9 with you all.
All right.
And then
we'll pass it.
Yeah.
Down. Yep.
Andy here, Biohazard Classified, Residents of Evil, as always.
Super Metal Day 64 here to talk about the Switch 2 version, which is actually really, really good.
Corey from Row here. Welcome, everybody.
Yo, it's your boy Bob Spaghetti in the house from the Residents of Evil. It's nice to be here.
Baggy from Row.
Andrew from Row. Oh yeah, Tony from Row.
There we go. All right. So yeah, we got a lot of us here, and you're probably wondering, why are we all together? This is the first time in history we got the entire Row team together. We're always missing one person, and now everybody's here, plus we have good friends joining us. So this is going to be a really good discussion today, guys. But please, everybody, let us know how the audio levels are. We want to make sure everything is balanced so that you can hear all of us fine. If there's any echo or any issue, let us know. And if you enjoy it, hit that like button. If we hit 500 likes, I will gift out 5 Row Squad memberships. So there is a chance to be gifted some memberships, but this is going to be a lot of fun. So we're all together because we just premiered Resurrection, a Biohazard story. And I do think it is very important to touch on that real quick, but I think the person probably that should be talking about it would be Baggy and Andrew. So I'll let you guys kind of give everybody some context of that, because that was epic.
Okay, I guess I'll go first. What shall I talk about?
What is Resurrection? What did we just do, and why are we all together?
Resurrection, a Biohazard story, is a independent fan film. It originally started as a series, but we're going to upload it as a full film. But we're bringing back most of the original live-action cast from the PS1 game, as well as some voice actors from Remake and various other games. So,
There's an echo.
oh. Anyways, yeah, that's basically the premise of this. And in terms of story, I can pass it over to Beggy Begbeg, and she can elaborate more on story details.
Yeah, so as Andrew said, this is an all-original story. takes place a few months after the end of Village, if you want to kind of put it into your headcanon. Completely unofficial and completely fan-made, but we have something very original, very spicy, very interesting going on, brewing in the city of Rosa and Ferma in Mexico. So we have a scenario that reunites Eric, Greg, Charlie, and Linda from the RE1 intro sequence, live action actors coming back at it 30 years to the day after. We're going to see it drop on YouTube. This time, March 7th, we actually premiered it at a theater in Las Vegas, which is kind of ironic considering the last time we were all gathered around a couch to talk about a movie like this, or about a game, rather. It was kind of like in the context of in Vegas. Yeah. It was about Welcome to Raccoon City. And now here we are. We have just premiered our big ol' fan film series, which once again, as Andrew said, will be dropping as an all-in-one upload on March 22nd. So very, very exciting stuff. Everyone who came by, thank you so much. It was a wonderful event. Honestly, couldn't have gone better. Everything was sort of delivered and ready to go. And we had a lot of good Q&A going. We will have some BTS that we'll be sharing from that event. So very, very cool stuff. It's a wonderful thing that we've been working on for about 2 years. So it's just story-wise, writing-wise, producing-wise, pre-production. It's been so long. And then August, we shot it for 2 weeks. And now it's all been finalized. And it's been premiered and will be coming to YouTube very soon. So, but yes, thank you so much, everyone who came out. And now we're going to go ahead and get started with the latest Resident Evil game release with Requiem, and a little bit of a thoughts and review here. So let's get started.
All right, yeah. So that event was amazing, and definitely look forward to March 22nd for Resurrection. But now we're going to be talking about Resident Evil 9 Requiem. You guys got my quick review. That was just a few hours I played, but now we've all got a chance to play through it multiple times. So what I want to do to start this off is I'm going to pass the mic to each of you guys and a quick summary of your overall thoughts and review on Requiem. We'll start with you, Anthony.
All right. Yeah, wow. Resident Evil Requiem for me is one of the better mainline games that I played probably since Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5 era. And so for me, I do appreciate what 6, 7, and 8 did, but in some aspects, I think this game just kind of feels like it's returning home a little bit in a good way. It's not just nostalgia. It's not just recency bias. It's more so this is like a game that I feel like we all kind of needed after, they kind of had to repel the series back post RE7 and try to really win a lot of the fans back, gain new fans. And I think for RE9, it hits on the horror, it hits on the action. Obviously, a lot of the horror and action are kind of blending more and more with a lot of these Resident Evil titles nowadays, and it seems to work in that way. But I think that the Chronic Care Center was fantastic. Going back to Raccoon City was fantastic. I really like Grace as a new character, and I think it did flow pretty well for the most part. There were some parts where the pacing could have been a little adjusted, but I think overall the gameplay was spot on. And the story, the bits to the lore, I think that there's a lot of cool stuff that they did here. Not everything is seal proof, but Capcom is known for doing that with RE, where sometimes it is a little sometimes they don't continue stories or don't wrap stuff up. So there's still a lot of questions sometimes, but I didn't feel like it left me empty. I felt fulfilled, really. And I just really enjoyed how this game really did feel like it was just a return to form for the mainline games, in my opinion. I know there's people that like, 7 and Village, and I still like 7 over Village. But I think this smacks them out of the water, I think, personally. So that's just kind of a brief little review there.
Yeah, I mean, Requiem is a very interesting title. I think it's certainly the best in the modern era of Resident Evil games. A strong 9 out of 10. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel like they've finally got the formula right in how they want to present Resident Evil. There are things that I think are fundamentally holding it back from being the greatest Resident Evil of all time, which we'll go into. Obviously, this is a bit of an elevator pitch, but an exceptional Resident Evil. Thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish, but yeah, there's a couple of narrative things which we'll talk about which really stop it from being the best of all time.
Yeah, I played the entire game from start to finish on the Switch 2, and I was very, very impressed with it. I also have it on PC. I have a Beast PC, so I'm playing on both things. But you're not missing out anything in the Switch 2 version. And I echo the thoughts from Andy and Anthony here. Basically, I think it's the best Resident Evil game since Resident Evil 4. Better than 5, 6, 7, and 8. And obviously, if you're playing single player, Resident Evil 5, your co-op, it's pretty cool. But so yeah, the gameplay is fantastic. I really love Leon's gameplay over Grace personally, but I thought they were both really good for what they were trying to accomplish, and targeting certain types of gameplay. And the story, I'm not like super interested in like the deep aspects of the game's story, but I really did like Leon's motivation in the game, and they did his gameplay and his character like perfectly in this game, like 10 out of 10 for him. But yeah, I rated the game a 9.1 on my channel, and I stand by that. I think it's very, very good. Not as good as Resident Evil 4. That's my favorite game in the series. I'm more leaning towards the action-oriented Resident Evil games than the, perhaps the lesser so ones. But yeah, the game is very, very good. And if you do have a Switch 2 and you don't have anything else, you're not missing out on anything. Yes, the frame rate isn't quite a lock 60, but it does target it and it runs good enough. And I think you really enjoy it. So yeah, great game.
Yeah, I definitely echo a lot of what Andy said there. I gave it a 9.0 myself, and it's definitely the best of the modern era. I had a lot of fun playing it the few times that we played it, and it's up there, dude. I don't want to go too long because it's going to be a long stream if we don't, but
Yeah.
it's definitely good.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all pretty much in agreement on what has already been said, but I think graphically the game was stunning, especially the beginning portion, walking down that street, just blown away by like the lighting, the shading, and like you can crank out the graphics on it and it renders great. The hair is fantastic on Grace. But yeah, the strands on the hair. But no, I think Grace is a really interesting character, and they introduced her well. So I think that fans are actually going to like her. So it's not like Ethan, where, whatever. I'm just going to let it go with that. But there's some holes in the story, but hopefully that gets addressed with some DLC or something like that. Learn more about Xeno and all that kind of stuff. But we could go deep dive into that later. There you go.
Yeah, similar to what Bob was saying, there are some issues, some inconsistencies that make me feel as if this story works better going forward than retroactively sort of backtracking and seeing where everything came from. If you try to look more and more at all of the little intricacies of the lore and the story and some of the characters' motivations, not everything aligns so nicely as it kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. But overall, very strong experience, and definitely making very good use of a lot of the mechanics that Capcom has sort of incorporated into their games up until this point. Things like parrying, things like new sort of like environmental, like specific actions that you could do are very, very cool. They might be the coolest ever. So there are a lot of like really good highlights to this title, but there are just some problems and a little bit of, as Anthony was saying, pacing is a little bit disjointed at moments, but again, not a deal breaker. And I think as a sort of gameplay experience, it's a little bit stronger to me than as a narrative. So yeah, maybe like 8 to 8.5 around there for me, I would say.
I definitely am not with any of you guys. I'm just going to say that right now. Tony, you actually might agree with me a little bit more.
I think I do, yeah.
If I had to rate it, I'd give it maybe a 7.5. I did enjoy the game. The gameplay was very fun. I thought the story was... I was not a fan of the story, and, I don't want to poke fun or, I want to give constructive criticism, but it was very confusing at times and alluded to a lot of different things here and there that you had to piece together. I was not a fan of Zeno's character. I thought Gideon was very underutilized. And it felt very member-berry at times. Like the whole tyrant thing was super cool, but when he dropped down, I was like, that's awesome. But
Remember zombies?
Yeah.
Remember T-virus?
yeah,
I remember.
but yeah, the graphics were amazing. I think this is probably the best graphics in a Resident Evil game I think I've ever seen. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. Very fun game to play. I think it is the best of, I guess you could say, the sequel trilogy of Resident Evil. I don't think it will ever compare to any of the original games. I think the original games are always going to be the greatest of the franchise. So yeah, when people say this is the greatest game, I get it. But yeah, it's anything newer to me is never going to top that. So that's my take. But very fun game to play.
Yeah, pretty much. I kind of disagree with what Andrew was saying. It's there's a lot of great things that they put into this game that are truly amazing, and then there's a kind of a lot of other things that get thrown in there and introduced, and things that don't really go anywhere. But then wherever the game kind of faults, it just picks up in an area where you're like just super amped up. So it's kind of like really hard to really hate the game when you can see that they're doing quite a lot of good stuff with it. I mean, I think they found the balance between the two styles of gameplay of like old school and new school action. I think they did a really great job when it came to that. I thought that, when it came time for the acting, Grace's actor like fucking stole the show. You felt like she was going for it. Like I literally at that one point thought like her leg got chopped off and like that. Like I was actually, I was just like waiting for it. That camera work was great. And of course, Nick, like once again, reinventing himself as Leon, everything while still like just doing a banger job was incredible. Like everything he did in that, like knowing like that character, where it was going and how he did it. Cause like every time it's just from every version he's ever played, it's always different. And it's exactly what you would think Leon would be. I think, and Andrew will agree with me with this too, and I think everybody else will. It's when you get someone who cares about these characters that grew up with them. They're going to put everything they can into it because they're fans. And I think there's just a lot of love that was put into this game, but there's just some things that didn't fully pay off. And it's hard to, even for me right now, it's like I kind of am like, well, yeah, there was some stuff from like older games, there was some stuff from the new games thrown in, and it worked. I mean, seeing Wesker's old group from Code Veronica on that box, like next to the Tricell and BSAA stuff, I was like, oh shit, that was pretty good. And then like as much as we make fun of RE6 for being like a Michael Bay like wet dream movie and stuff, it's like people give shit for Leon in the motorcycle chase with Gideon, and I'm just like, yeah, but at least it's just like that one part and it's not the full game. Yeah, exactly. And like, and those quick times in the games in 6, you play through them, they don't react in the right way either. So I think that they found that balance of where things worked. And yeah, there's characters that are missing, there's characters that weren't talked about, and there's so many mysteries that are left unsaid. And I personally think that they just wanted to make a really good first impression with the game itself, and then any post DLC that they're gonna like spring on us, because they learned from Village they have to have it because they didn't expect it back then for Village. So overall, I give the game like an 8 out of 10. I really did enjoy it for like what it gave us. It did upset me in a lot of ways, but then there was just other ways that I was like, this is fun. I'm liking this. So I'm hoping that Capcom listens to the personal feedback from everybody, and really, because they're pretty good at doing that in this era, I feel. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I personally really enjoyed it. I mean, going back to our first playthrough, which we did live on the channel, those feelings and thoughts we had for that still are how I feel about it. Now, I don't think it's perfect, but it is. So the crazy thing is, and the one thing I wanted to know how it was going to work was going from survival horror, slower paced with Grace, more stealth focused, to the fast paced action of Leon. And I thought, like, I personally would have wanted that to be an A and B scenario, but I trusted them and I wanted to see how it would flow. And honestly, it does feel like 2 games in one. It feels like an identity crisis, but it works. It worked better than I had expected. And it's weird because like throughout the game, I felt like I was more interested in Leon's story, but I personally enjoyed playing Grace's portion. In the Road Hill, like it was very much like the RPD. There was a good amount of backtracking. So it worked. I would say that some of my strong suits of that game are the replayability. It is fun. I know they don't have any DLC right now and it's kind of limited on what you can get, but it is fun to replay because I was worried that it was going to be jarring to go back through that game. There are sections that drag, like the intro takes a while and then the orphanage. But it is fun to replay. There is a good amount of things that you can unlock. DLC will hopefully improve that. But I would say one big complaint though, is probably the story. When you're playing it and you're going through it and experiencing it, it's great. It's got you hooked. They keep dropping new things on you. But then when you really start to analyze those after and you start to think about it, it feels like there's a lot of plot holes in it, or things they set up where you think about it in hindsight and you're like, they didn't even need to do that. I get that they were trying to mislead you and it's supposed to be a surprise, but we'll go in depth on the actual story itself. But yeah, no, just aside from those few things, my favorite thing though, I would have to say, is returning to the RPD. Like that's the one thing that when they showed in the trailer, I was like, I cannot wait to go back. And I felt like they did a fantastic job of the RPD and going through those areas when there's that cutscene, or where you read the name tag and he says it's Marvin Branagh. And he makes that comment to see tofu in that. Like that was all really good. I get the member berries, but I liked them and that's what I wanted. But then like the scenes like where you go into the back room where Kendo had to kill his daughter because she was turning, and you have that moment, it's like that's the stuff that I wanted, and it was there. It was heartfelt. But overall I really enjoyed it. If I had to put a number on it, I'd say around 8.5 out of 10, which is very high. I would say that out of the RE Engine games, I would say I like it better than 7 and 8, but I don't like it better than 2 and 4. The problem with when you compare it to like the classic Resident Evil games, and I know I'm comparing it to the remakes, but it's really hard to top something that's gone down in your mind over the years as like one of the greatest things of all time. Like it's just not fair to compare it. But I will say, as a Resident Evil game, I really did enjoy it, and I definitely am excited to see what they're going to do with the story elements for DLC.
Did you do the finding all the Raccoon story notes?
Yes, yeah. So to what you're saying about the Raccoon City notes from 1998, it was really heartfelt. When you find the ones of Marvin's daughter and you find her shoes, oh man, that was really, really good. So like all the member berries that you were talking about, I like the member berries.
I like the member.
Yeah.
But it's just the member.
Yeah, I get you. But yeah, no, really enjoyed it. Not a perfect game, but a fantastic game. And the characters, I'm a Leon fanboy, dude. Resident Evil 2, the original, is my favorite game of all time. I felt like they absolutely nailed Leon in this, and I fell for him, dude. When it was coming to the end, I was like, please don't die. And Grace was fantastic, a fantastic new addition. She had an arc in the game. You could see her going from this very timid FBI analysis that should not be there to like, all right, she's still nervous, but she's stepping up to the plate, right? But yeah, so I definitely enjoyed it. I think that was a good variety of opinions too, when we're not always on the same page, and that's good. That's what creates good discussion, right? So now I want to go through some of the, I think, elements that make Resident Evil what it is, like the gameplay and replayability, survival horror and action balance, enemy design, boss fights, but we'll start with one at a time. I want to go through the gameplay and replayability. I want to know, like, did you enjoy the gameplay? What did you not enjoy about it? Is it fun to replay? Does it kind of rate up there with a lot of Resident Evil games that you can go back through and play over and over and over? Before that, though, I just want to say thank you so much for the support and super chats, guys. If you have a question for us, let us know, but we'll probably save all the super chats for once we wrap. We'll go into a Q&A with you guys. So, Anthony, gameplay and replayability. What do you think?
So the gameplay itself, I really did find the back and forth not too jarring. I think playing as Grace and having that slower burn survival horror was just I actually really liked it because the Chronic Care Center is awesome. Like, RPD is amazing. That was probably still my favorite section going back to, but also Raccoon City. But like, there was so much love in the Chronic Care Center, and Grace in the Chronic Care Center, when you're not as Leon, does add that layer of slower burn horror, which I really enjoyed. And to be able to kind of have that, like, that tension and release, kind of what Nakanishi was saying, I felt that, like, especially on the harder mode, with Leon being able to clear out certain things that you couldn't with Grace and stuff like that. I like that balance because that came more into play on the harder modes, I find. But the gameplay was very satisfying and it was just very punchy. It's the most, as far as RE engine, the best feeling one. There's little things that, like, I wish I could make the parry button, well, not on PC because you could probably edit it to whatever you want, but on console, I wish you could change around your parry button to be your shooting button, like RE4 Remake. That would have been cool. But that's just like a little thing. Like the parrying still felt great. The upgrading system between Grace and Leon felt pretty good, especially when you get to New Game Plus and you have like Leon's crate from the beginning. And yeah, as far as replaying it and just trying to get the routes down, that's kind of where all the RE players kind of get to, where you're like, okay, like I finished it a couple times, but now how can we, make this as quick as we can, or stealth it and see what works best and try different strategies and speed running. That's the fun with these games and going back to playing it. I hope we get some extra stuff. We're pending an actual DLC announcement, so hopefully we'll get mercenaries. Hopefully we'll get a raid mode or something. Who knows? And obviously story DLC, but. Yeah, the gameplay just feels very snappy, and it does feel like, with each section, I do want to go back and play it. It doesn't feel like a section is a chore, and some of those sections that might have almost been feeling like a chore, you kind of get better at, and you're like, all right, no, actually, that section wasn't that bad. Like, putting the fuses down in the basement, you're like, oh man, how is this going to be on like multiple playthroughs? Once you get it down, you're like, okay. So I felt that it was consistent all the way through the gameplay, and I like the balance that they went for. I think it worked.
Yeah, no, I mean, echoing the thoughts already, the gameplay was exceptional. I do think it's going to be there's going to be sections in it that are definitely a slog to get through, especially like the East Raccoon City parts before you get to the RPD. I know it's kind of building up to get to the RPD, but even on the first playthrough, I thought that was really painful. So I'm actually just started my second playthrough of it. So I'm excited to see like how that happens. And obviously there are sequences that you can't skip, like the flashback with Grace, with the kids, where she's like in the raccoon orphanage. Like I can imagine that's going to be a right pain in the ass playthrough. I was really shocked that how they implemented the box for Leon. And then when you play it on New Game Plus, I was like, well, because I always felt it was quite late in the game that they introduced the box. Yeah. So I was like, well, I hope if we want to do this on New Game Plus that it's a lot earlier in the game. But fortunately it is, so that's quite nice. But they wiped the points that I've noticed. Yeah, I don't like that. What is that about? Yeah. That's really frustrating. So, yeah, I mean, obviously it's just like every other RE Engine Resident Evil game where you've got like a content shop, I guess, that you earn Capcom points. CP is, by the way, a terrible name. Who on earth signed off as on CP? Outrageous work from Capcom. But yeah, like, again, another thing was obviously the final puzzle that no one actually solved it. We data mined, people online data mined it, which was really disappointing, but it kind of is what it is. I think I'm a PlayStation fan, so naturally the Platinum Trophy is what I'm going to be targeting. I think out of all of the RE Engine games, this is probably the easiest Platinum I see happening. Yeah. Because you don't have to, I mean, Resident Evil 4, you had to complete it on S+, on the hardest mode. There's not even like a grading system in this game. It's just like time and that's it. I think like the hardest trophy is probably going to be just completing the game on Insanity, but you can go back to casual, which is what I'm doing now. Because I played it on standard classic, which, by the way, was hard as fuck. I genuinely thought it was like the base difficulty was really fucking tough. That should be like hardcore mode minimum.
Apparently, they went into the files and saw that it's basically just hardcore, just renamed, basically.
Yeah.
So it's like, but again, it's not clear like how it used to be,
Yeah, no, it was absolutely brutal. But that's another thing from a replayability point of view. It was quite nice to go back and play casual mode and like kind of go around the areas with Leon and just absolutely obliterate everything. That's another thing that's quite nice. I know there is a contrast, but of like playing as Grace and then playing as Leon, but having that, it was a nice juxtaposition actually of playing an area with Grace. I'm really, really struggling, to be honest. And then coming back as Leon and just murdering everybody in the room. That was actually quite satisfying. So, yeah, I again think it'd be the easiest Platinum to get for the Resident Evil series. And, yeah, we'll see what DLC is in store.
Cool. Yeah, gameplay was really, really good and very addicting. As far as replayability, I think an option to skip Grace's first part of the game there might be a nice option, but if not, you can kind of get through it pretty quick. But yeah, the gameplay with Grace is really fun, and like Anthony was saying, the routes are going to be really fun to learn. So like, it's way more replayability than Village, for example. I didn't want to play that game more than once. So this game is so more engaging, a lot more different gameplay scenarios you have with Leon and Grace. There's so much variety. So it's just like so much replay that you have there. So really, I couldn't really complain. And obviously, with more stuff coming, like hopefully Mercenaries and DLC, you're gonna be playing this game for years. So yeah, no complaints here.
Oh yeah. So I think like the game, for as far as the gameplay goes, a lot of the controls for both Grace's like recursive unlocking part and Leon's more actiony part, it's pretty intuitive for all the controls. And it's like a meaty game. It's like takes most of us like 12, 13 hours to complete our first playthrough, but don't know if that's just us taking our time to take it in or getting lost because we don't know where to go. But once you play through, you can actually cook through it pretty quick once you know what to do. And thank God most of the cutscenes you can skip. So, I mean, not to skip over the story, but for speedrunning purposes and stuff, because that's a lot held stuff like 7 back, because those cutscenes you couldn't skip. So you had to sit through it. And if you don't want to sit through these unskippable 3-minute cutscenes, it really hurts the replayability of a game. So thankfully, you know, Capcom realized that and included that. But yeah, I don't know. They have plenty good unlockables. Like Infinite Requiem is sick to go back through and just obliterate zombies. It's sick. So JJ said he shot one of those. If you didn't hear, it's pretty sick. So I don't know. The gameplay is really good. I just feel like it might be a little bit better if like it was more of like a and B scenario, like JJ was saying, because it can be a little bit jarring going from Grace, who's super underpowered, to just blasting through stuff with Leon and then go back to Grace. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm weak as shit. I have nothing. So if like each scenario was a little bit more homogeneous, like finish this part out instead of bouncing back and forth, because at least one or two of the portions, it's just like Leon is super short, like 10 minutes, then you're back to Grace. And it's like, I don't know. But other than that, the gameplay is great. Stories obviously has some holes that need filling, giggity. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I liked it, but
Yeah, I think there's some segments have really high replayability. I think it's worth noting that, like Resident Evil 4 Remake, there's like many different solutions to different encounters. All of the different types of infected that you encounter in the Chronic Care Center, for example, we all found that we kind of dealt with them in a different way, like the big fat baby, which, by the way, has a file dedicated to it on fat baby syndrome, where a part of your brain is turned off that controls satiety. So you just keep eating. So I thought that was amazing. I feel really represented. I feel good. Like I felt really good about the part of the story. But anyway, that's one example. Like you can inject him with one hemolytic injector and then shoot him with 2 Requiem shots like I did. You could do 3 injectors. You could do there's so many creative solutions that are varying in terms of how you take down these sort of special infected foes that undergo multiple mutations. So I thought that was just very cool. And that was also reminiscent of RE4 Remake, because it's just honestly it's I don't even know what they're laughing at, but I'm laughing at something.
Fleeby 24.
Yeah, I was like,
I need to pee once. I need water.
okay, yeah, it was the same thing. But yeah, no. It's overall, like, one thing I wanted to say, speaking of Resident Evil 4 Remake, though, I think that was the absolute peak in terms of gameplay formula, replayability. In terms of like RE Engine games, I don't think it could be beaten. I didn't expect it to be beaten, and I don't think Requiem beat it. And it's also not just a matter of like what you could do with Leon, because I do think it's incredible what you could do with Leon in this game. However, I don't think a lot of the encounters actually made full use of that. I don't think the way that some of the zombies approach you and horde you in this game are really quite as intimidating or high level escalation as like the Ganados in RE4 Remake. I think they kind of like hit like another level. And I think that is kind of like in its own category in terms of just replayability, creative solutions, tension, pressure, intimidation. This time you felt more in control, and that has its own satisfaction. So, but yeah, no, overall, like very well designed, cool new solutions. Every time you think you have Grace's segments figured out, they kind of implement something new, and they let you craft something new. They let you use something new. And I thought that was just really cool and really clever. In terms of replayability with some of the segments in the beginning, it reminded me of 3 Remake, unfortunately, where a lot of it is just, you kind of just hold forward and examine stuff. And that's not the worst thing in the world. Like the first time through was like very exciting, very invigorating to sort of just like uncover the past and see what actually happened. So, but yeah, some of them are a little bit slow. I'll talk about them a little bit more later, but that's what I think.
For me, I really enjoyed the gameplay. I thought it was a little weird at first with going back and forth between the survival horror to the action. The first playthrough, doing the whole first person thing with Grace was tough. Like, what was it? Standard classic?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But my second play around, I just switched everything to third person and I went to casual, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. So, yeah, I think it's a bit odd. You only get 2 guns with Grace. Well, 2 really main guns. And then Leon just has everything.
Going back from having everything to having nothing. Oh yeah, we pull out the shotgun. Never mind.
Exactly.
I don't have that.
Yeah. But no, it's fun. I don't like the whole inventory system with Leon, because in Resident Evil 4, I feel like you get to keep your stuff going into that. Now you got to like sell everything and rebuy it. Yeah, that like it. Yeah. I guess they give you enough points every time to, but yeah. And then the whole, me and Tony were joking about East Raccoon City, how long it takes to get through. Cause we played a bunch of Spider-Man games in our day. So I'm just like, man, I just want to zip line over there. But yeah, I feel like that bit of the game maybe could have been tightened up, but no, with Leon, it's just super fun to just blast away at zombies. So gameplay was definitely the huge selling point with this game.
I mean, I did like what?
No.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were calling me.
Yeah, that's boy pocket.
Yes. No, I mean, I did. I enjoyed like the gameplay elements. I thought it was really reminiscent of Grace not having like any inventory space. It just brought me back to classic Resident Evil, like that first time you ever play it and you just bring everything with you and can't pick up anything that you find because you're so afraid of walking through this mansion with all the zombies. And now, because we know Grace isn't, Leon, and she's definitely not Jill. She's definitely not even Claire or even Rebecca, really. Like she's like low tier in that aspect. And I think that they did a great job of doing that and bringing back that classic survival horror feel, because she gets 2 little dinky pea shooters and everything. It's literally like, okay, like I've got to use this blood the right way. I got to take out these enemies the best way I can. And I think that's like what made the gameplay so great. Cause I mean, we really haven't been able to get back to classic Resident Evil style games since like we left after 0. It just went right into 4 with the action, and it's always been kind of like straight ahead. And I mean, this game was still pretty much that too with Grace, but I think her stuff just did really good. And then Leon's spot, yeah, Leon's was great. And don't get me wrong, I love Raccoon City. I'm glad we got to go back, but I always like felt the gameplay aspect during that was a little rough because they didn't have as many enemies on screen as I thought they would have had for Leon. And yeah, and like, and the thing is the default, I don't know if anybody else felt this way, but the default way you control Leon, it feels like when he's aiming his gun and stuff like that, it's like trying to like move a heavy statue. He's like I know he's old now and everything.
This is like one of the first games I've actually had to turn like the sensitivity up.
Yeah.
Normally I have to turn it down, moving stuff around, but for him I had to turn it up.
Yeah, and then I saw the people talking about this too. Even when they mess with the sensitivity, they could not get it right for the longest time. It took so long. And like the weird thing with this too, where it is in the options, it's hidden. You go to like one area and it's like, well, where is it? And then you're supposed to click a small box that'll bring you to the actual sensitivity, like moving it and stuff. So it really just kind of threw me off.
Leon has heavy arthritis.
Yes. But like that's the thing. Yeah, it was just it just felt like it's like this is an old man who can't move anymore.
Keep reading the chat and getting distracted.
But like it was, and then like going through Raccoon City, like again, great and everything, but we spent too much time on that whole detonator part where it's like you really could have done something else, and I felt that in that aspect that kind of took me out of it. I was getting a little frustrated because you're just going back and forth and everything.
Can someone mod web shooters on Leon's wrist?
Oh, seriously. 100%. I did. Honestly, I'm sure that'll happen.
That'd be so awesome.
But like there was like again like even like when the stuff got like dull at sometimes, or it was at parts I loved like going through the buildings as Leon, like Raccoon City. Like, dude, I saw so many people just shoot the ground that like in the glass and like they killed themselves. They thought, I was like, oh yeah, no, I know where I am. No, you don't. And like just watching him drop was hilarious. Yeah. And like, I mean, and then some parts just kind of did go full RE6 where it was the missiles on the rooftops. Yeah. I was like, really? Like, are we really doing this right now? But again, ultimately, again, the gameplay was fine. I enjoyed a lot of it, but I think there was some stuff like it was pretty rough in a lot of areas, and gaming just controlled weird. So I'm hoping that going forward, whatever they do, they take this feedback, like I said earlier, and really. And he's not even drinking either. He's just dying. And like it was I think the thing that pissed me off the most though, like it was like you open the container and you saw the bike, and I'm like, good, now we don't have to keep trudging back and forth. No, he's just like, I'm going to save this for later. And it's like, yeah.
Like Vendetta, where it's just like shooting the signs down.
Right? Dude, oh my God, dude. I remember like when I was actually playing the game and I was on the bike and I was like, and then like there's Gideon. I was like, oh, this is cool. All right, so, it's going to be like Vendetta. We're going to get the dogs. And then the new Cerberus showed up and I'm like, okay, yeah, it was Vendetta. And like that part was just great though. Like I had so much fun with that part. It was great. Also, did anybody else think that we needed a chapter select or anything? Yes. I mean, someone had said it would have been a little hard to have done chapter select because it is different from how RE5 did it, but I still think they could have, because RE5
could have been done.
Yeah.
Scenario.
Yeah.
Like a New Game Plus or something, it would have been the good quality of life thing. For
100%.
Especially if you're trying to like revisit a chapter for talking about it.
Yeah. Because I mean, like I think of like content creators like us, like when we want to make a video, it's like, oh great, now we have to like replay all of this like for the next like 6 hours to get to this one part and everything. So I mean, like I think that would have been something that would have worked out really good. But like I said, the gameplay, I think they found that balance that they wanted to, and just other parts of the game took you out of it. But then, like I said earlier, for every bad thing that happened, there was something really good. I mean, come on, that spider was pretty damn fun. Yeah. Anything. I was stealing his word. I was just I had the Requiem with the spider. And I'm like, I was like, get your butt blasted, and just like shooting it in the ass. Oh, that part was. Oh yeah, it was. He was big and squishy.
All right, yeah, no, I enjoy the replayability of it, right? I went back through and I was just really concerned, like, is it going to be fun to replay because you have two different games and there's areas that drag, but it's great. One of my biggest complaints about the game when I first played it was Leon's section when he first arrives in Raccoon City, because that's what I was looking forward to. And I was like trying so hard. I was like, oh, cool, we're here. But I was like, but it just kind of drags. And it's very, what was I going to say? We got lost a ton. It's very, it just doesn't look finished. It doesn't look detailed. Like, you know what I mean? And I was so worried about that. But now that I've been playing it, I'm on my 5th playthrough, and that part flows really well. Actually, it has, if you know the route, it's completely different. It's fine. It's fine. But when I first did it, I was like, man, this part drags. I'm worried about replaying it. Like once you know the areas, you can get through it pretty quick. Yes, it does kind of, sometimes when you switch characters, it does suck that I just had these awesome weapons and now I don't. I guess the biggest thing is I wish when you beat it, you could pick, do you want to just play Grace's sections or just play Leon's sections, or both? I think that would have been great for the replayability, but I really enjoyed it. Again, played it 5 times because I'm having a good time with it. A few areas that drag, but not a big deal. It just, we need some DLC. It seems like they're setting up a 4 Survivor. There's characters that are unresolved we need to know things about. So I think once DLC comes out, bonus modes, I think it'll have a lot more replayability. But for right now, it's fun to replay the game. The next one I got here is enemy design. And now when we talk about the enemies, I want to talk about the enemies in the game, but not the villains. The villains are going to be separate.
Not the bosses, just like
zombies, monsters.
Yeah, zombies, monsters, boss monsters, chunk and stuff like that. But like when it comes to Timu Wesker, and Gideon and Commander, like we'll save that for the next discussion. But yeah, we'll start with you, Anthony. What did you think about the variety of enemies and the enemies themselves in the game?
The zombies, in this game having the different personalities and stuff like that, I thought it was pretty cool. Fumbling around with the chainsaw, bumping into each other, it was cool. I still found that the Raccoon City zombies specifically, while they do look cool, I'm like, it doesn't make, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief because I don't know if they would even look like that. Like I feel like they look more rotten, or just completely just. What's that?
I was gonna say, well, suspend disbelief. It's like they are zombies. How would they look? How do you think Raccoon City zombies would look?
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean,
what's your point you're trying to make?
I think you're trying to say what I was trying to say. Like these are 30-year-old dead corpses.
that's all I was saying. Yeah, but
Are you saying
anyway,
they weren't decayed enough?
yes,
Like,
Okay,
they-
I could see
they-
that. Yeah.
that's all I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would just be bones.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, what was I even talking about? The enemies. So yes, basically, I think it was a good variety. It was cool to see the spiders back. It was cool to see Super Tyrant back. I enjoyed the fights. I know that they basically didn't give Grace any, boss fights really. I mean, she dealt with, the stalker enemy, but the biggest thing was like, that wasn't really a fight. It was just, all right, hit these switches, turn on the thing, and then she burns, it was still a cool part. But Leon got all the boss fights. And that's fine because you would expect him to deal with it. And I think obviously him dealing with all that stuff in Raccoon City on that scale was appropriate for Leon to do so because it's going back to Raccoon City and it has that message in there. But the designs themselves were pretty good. I still like the zombie designs in the Chronic Care Center. I like Chunk. I like the blister heads were very well done. And I thought that they were even harder in some elements than the original Crimson Heads in some ways because of just how they move and they jump back and forth. They're harder to hit. At least with a Crimson Head, while they are menacing, they are pretty much going to run straight at you. This thing will literally like crawl around, like duck around and stuff like that. So the Blister Heads I really liked. And yeah, I just thought it was a pretty cool variety. Like it was better. I liked it better than all the stuff we got in Village with the Lycans and everything. And I liked it better than the boring molded from RE7. So that's why I think, again, while it isn't like the Ganados or the Maginas as far as maybe how they surround you and stuff like that, and they still do, but I think they just did a good job with, like, again, having that just different flow with the enemies, and seeing the spider back was also like a really cool highlight because I didn't get that spoiled for me. I didn't get anything spoiled for me, but seeing the spider, I was not expecting that, honestly. So
Yeah, I mean, kind of the low-level enemies were really cool. I did find the zombies quite spongy, actually. Like, I know it was like a bit of a meme in RE2 Remake where you shoot like a zombie 5 times in the head and they just keep getting back up. But it really felt like just trying to take, especially when you got to like East Raccoon City, like the decayed zombies they just never seem to go down. But yeah, I mean, I'm always going to love seeing zombies. I do like all the cool animations that Leon can do where he can like squash someone's head in the wall and like the shotgun one like well took me by surprise. Like he can't, like they hold the front of the gun, he's like bang, like it's really, really good. No complaints on the lower level enemies for sure. What other ones are there? So obviously Chunk. I've just recently gone back and done the injection 3 times. The injection, giving him 3 doses of Ozempic to put him down. But yeah, I mean, in terms of how it balances between Grace and Leon, obviously, it's not really a comparison because you're just blowing through. You're just blowing through with Leon. Obviously, the hatchet was fantastic. Actually, it was kind of funny seeing him like pull a whetstone out every 5 minutes. Be like, shh. But you know, it's it's all good stuff, really.
Well, yeah. The enemies were really fun actually, and each area I really appreciated. They had different types of zombies. You know, like it wasn't just a repeat of the lichens over and over again, like Village. That was a joke, but yeah, it was. They were really well designed, really fun. Each scenario was kind of like designed with the enemies in mind to kind of like have this scenario play out for those enemies. So it was really fun in that way. Plus, the one negative though that I will say is that the bosses that were not story bosses, or well, you could say that about the story bosses too, but or they were just too easy. I thought they didn't last long enough because they put so much time and effort in the design of these even the smaller bosses. I just wish they lasted a little longer. So without having to play on insanity, basically. But yeah, really fun, a fantastic design. Just such a joy to play on each section, especially with Leon, and Grace had her own variety as well. So yeah, just a little bit too easy, but we can talk more about that later, of course.
Yeah, I think the enemy variety was awesome in this game. I think it was the best enemy variety since like the RE2 remake, and you know that they had good enemy variety, but 7 and 8 they were lacking. You know, I had a lot of fun. The liquors were cool. They come seeing that, like the Cerberuses. Yeah, it was really good, doing a lot of fun, and every part, like you said, was a different experience too, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off like that, Anthony, but you did raise a good point. Sitting here thinking about it while you've been talking is, yeah, those zombies probably should have behaved at least a little bit differently or looked differently than the ones we were citing on the care center. That is actually a very good point. Like being up and decaying like that for like 30 years versus however long. As far as like the gameplay and how the zombies interacted, like they interacted well with environments, especially in Leon's portion when he's like doing like melee attacks, like smashing up against a wall, cutting their heads off and stuff like that. They all don't die exactly the same way. Like, you know, again, the molded felt very samey. Even if it was a different type of molded, it's just like you pop their head and they're down. I guess there almost seem to be like inconsistencies with the amount of bullets it takes to put some of these zombies down, like especially in Grace's portion. Sometimes it's 2 headshots. Sometimes you mag dump and they still don't go down. So I don't know, but other than that, the variety of the low-level enemies, Chunk scared the shit out of me. I had the volume kind of down when I was playing that part. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna loot this body, and his head peeks around the corner, and I jumps. I'm very jumpy, and I jumped so hard. My wife was laughing at me. She was like, she heard it coming, I didn't. But man. Just jiggling, sliding through the hallway is fantastic.
It's because when you have to inject him, you have to inject it into his crack as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweaty arse right in your face.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic, and I like the definitely the stalker enemy from Grace's part. I like to call her Alice in Chains because you got the chains jangling, but yeah, I don't know. I think the enemy variety is definitely pretty good, but I'm gonna pass it over to Baggy.
Yeah, I also thought the totality of it all was really strong. I just thought there was a lot of like rehashing in terms of like some of the monsters, a lot of like kind of packaging a little bit of what we had seen. You kind of see like we have a plant here, we have Mr. X here, we have other folks returning here, we have like, so there's a lot of that going on, but the totality of it, and again, like the contextual sort of reason for a lot of the zombies being exactly where they were, doing what they were doing was awesome. And I actually thought that was stronger in Grace's section. Going back to that file, which was stating that many who undergo multiple mutations from mutated T virus and then undergo a blood transformation, they retain aspects of their past selves. And seeing that in these chef characters, seeing that in these other characters that have special mutations, the singer, the singing lady, even in these BSAA folks that are just like firing, like because they feel like they should be firing, and just going kind of wild. All of that fits into the world quite nicely. But I feel like in Leon's, they seemed much more generic and sort of like overused, kind of samey. Whereas in Grace's, so many of them had a pretty distinct identity in the Chronic Care Center, and I thought that was really cool, which is what made Leon's section seem a little bit longer, was that a lot of what you're encountering is much more of like a video gamey reused asset type of enemy. It doesn't really have much of an identity in the city beyond just like being a super old corpse that wants you dead, right? So that's kind of what was there. And I also did like the context given in the ARC facility around each of them being sold as weapons. I thought that was cool because it sort of harkens back to the olden days of having these bioweapons actually be used as assets in like a military context. And like, I feel like for a good part of the newer games, we sort of forgot that some of them were being created for that purpose. We're so kind of taking these tangents into other stories with Ethan and going elsewhere that we're like, okay, now we know why these are being developed, who wants them, what price they're being sold for, everything along that matter. So I thought that was cool. But
Or what?
Thank you for the super chats. We're going to use that for Mr. X.
I quite liked the monsters and creature designs in this game. I feel like generally most of these newer games and the remakes do a pretty good job at either coming up with new creature designs or doing a good job at representing the older designs from older concept art and older games, with the exception of Nemesis. Whoever did that butchered that monster. Holy cow. But no, and I actually agree with you, Anthony, about the zombies, because when I was playing it, I was like, man, these things would just be bones at this point. Right, exactly. Yeah. No. Yeah. Like they had fresh red blood, and I'm like, this is a 30-year-old walking corpse. Like I remember watching like Walking Dead back in the day, and I'm like, these dudes would be like the same thing. Yeah. You know? So, but yeah, I thought all the monsters and creature designs were super, and the lickers, that was super cool. That was cool to see them come back. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think from what everybody else already talked about, pretty much the enemy design here is some of the best that the franchise has had in quite a long time, because 5 and 6, 7 didn't really have that strong ones. 8 had a decent fair share, but other than that, this has been a wide variety, keeps you on your toes kind of situation. And I think that's one of the things we loved about early years of Resident Evil, was because none of us ever knew what was really around those corners. Because it's just zombies for the most part, and then hunters coming in out of nowhere, and then you're just scared to go anywhere. And I kind of felt like that's how this game worked in a lot of ways. I think just all the enemies that we came across, I don't really think there was kind of any bad enemies. I mean, there was that part later on in the game where you're even fighting the Umbrella Squad guys that came in and stuff. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, everybody's always, even if you don't like those live action Resident Evil movies, everybody always loves the Umbrella Squad guys that come in to like clean up places or shoot up places and stuff. And so when they kind of did that in this game, I was like, this is actually kind of fun. It turned into like a cover shooter a little bit. And like I was hitting those guys with shotguns, and they weren't going down. And then like you could screw with them by releasing the lickers and have them go after. It was just that stuff was dope. Yeah. So like they really did like get very inventive on like how they did things with these enemies. And yeah, of course, like they're saying, the zombies don't make sense. The only way that you could say it is like T-virus mutation. They don't need blood anymore. That's really all it was. Or like
alive just enough.
Yeah, or like people wandered into those zones and stuff and got bit or something and never came out or whatever. Like because let's face it, I don't know how well they walled off that place before you got into the inner part of Raccoon City, but outside they were still. I mean, the freaking spider was going around there. You know, so I mean, the BSAA were there before as well when you found their stuff, but yeah, overall, all the enemies are just fun. Like the mutations that they go through, the things that you have to think about. It's like, hey, do I like handle it this way with Grace? Let Leon handle it later on, you know, or like the big stalker enemies, whether it's the cook, which I thought it was great that he eventually left the kitchen. Like I was like I remember like I was trying to go put more of those medallions in that room.
He cuts you off like on the one.
Yeah. And I was just like, nope. Like, yeah, I was like, I didn't think he was gonna do that. And so and then you know, Big Chungus, he's just going everywhere like squishing through hallways and stuff. And I'm like, oh crap, he's going like up and down stairs too. And I thought that was great. Again, like I thought that was just really like inventive how they did it. They just used all these characters, like all these like different zombies and other creatures, and I mean, hell, we even got like tiny little spiders again as well, which they weren't that big of a thing. But I think Capcom was like, yeah, you know what, we kind of fucked up with the no spiders thing in 2 and 3. Should we just give them one big spider? And I'm like thinking as I'm seeing it, like the silhouette above it, I'm like, is that fucking Black Tiger 2? What is this shit? Like that was just great, man. And like, so I mean, yeah, because I mean, obviously the fallout from Raccoon City, there was probably something that did live. It just, the fact that there was like this variety that we had with all these enemies was just fantastic. And there's I think that's one of the reasons why, like, as much problems as many of us have with the game, is just that those enemies kept us on our toes. And again, something that I don't think they've been able to do for quite a long time. So
Really quick, I have a question for you guys. Do you guys remember playing the part of the game with Leon where he comes up to like an old water treatment plant? You had to turn the valve.
yeah.
Do you remember the 2 zombies that came out of the ground? It was like before you turn the valve or whatever.
That wall starts to open.
Yeah. They literally came up out of solid concrete. Yeah. Did you notice that?
Oh my god, they did.
They're strong. That can mutate everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still.
But like to that too, like just because it's different but the same. Like also when you're in the building that's like tipped over, and you're walking on that one material, but you can't walk on any other material. It's literally drop ceiling. You're walking on drop ceiling. Holy shit, dude, that's some good drop ceiling.
They built the city's different back.
Yeah, they don't build them like they used to. But no, I thought the enemy variety was absolutely fantastic. There were so many times I was like, if I see this, I'll die, and then it was there. And I was like, if I see this, I'll die, and then it was there. At first, though, I was not sold on the smart zombies. So when I first played it, my first time when I was just trying to get my first impressions for the review I put out, I was like, they're goofy. It's like a loony bin, right? Where they're making noises and they're yelling at each other and squawking at each other. And then I realized like they each one serves a purpose in that area, and then that's when I like grew a massive appreciation for them, to where now these smart zombies kind of become my favorite thing. Like now people are finding out that you can use that one alpha zombie, the blind one, to take out Chunk. He could take out the butcher, dude. That guy's he's the leader of the zombies in there. He's the main boss. But I thought that was absolutely fantastic how they added that character to these zombies, so they're all behaving differently. Seeing the liquors, super cool. We got the evolved liquors. I wanted that so bad. They didn't have it in 2, and I said, now going back to Raccoon City, if they have the evolved liquors, it'd be great. And they did. I just kind of wish they made them look more like the evolved liquors in 2, but it's fine. No complaints. You know, Mr. X, why was he there? Well, I mean, for me, it makes sense because like you can purchase BOWs, and so like why wouldn't a Xeno have Mr. X that's just kind of hanging around as his bodyguard? I thought that was awesome. So yeah, a lot of the nostalgia enemies bringing back was fantastic. A lot of the new enemies I thought were fantastic. Seeing the spider was incredible. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I'm missing that I want to talk about, but just overall, I thought the variety of enemies was great. Those enemies in Raccoon City, the old ones, you know, they remind me of, what was it, Charlie Manson? Right?
Oh yeah, Charles.
Charles Manson. Don't they look like him? Like that or Rob Zombie? Yeah. I was worried too. Like when I first played Leon, I was like, he is OP'd. It's fun as hell, but he is OP'd. But once the game goes on, dude, like they balance it out. Those enemies become tough, and the freaking blister heads, dude, they're great. The way that they're just like the clickers from The Last of Us. But they're fantastic. I love the way they move, and definitely a threat. They got that big chubby one too that you shoot his blisters and it infects everybody in the room. You guys mentioned that one. That was cool. I like that one, you know. But yeah, overall, fantastic. So anybody else got any thoughts on those before we move into the next topic?
Just in the chat, I'm seeing people saying that they wish there was like hunters or something.
Yeah.
I can see the thing is, I would have loved to see hunters. I'd love to see all that, but
Yeah.
they added so much that I can't really complain that a few things weren't in it. Yeah, I would have loved to, but
Yeah. Just like if they can't give us everything.
yeah.
Yeah, they didn't survive.
All right, now I'm moving into boss fights. And I think this is like, Super Tyrant, which, by the way, Super Tyrant looked fantastic. He was closer to his original design. That was my favorite boss fight in the whole game. But so boss fights, this isn't like, it would just be any boss fight in the game. Small bosses, big bosses, villain bosses. But what did you guys think about the boss fights?
Boss fights, I really enjoyed the Super Tyrant, like you said. The Titan Spinner, that's what the spider's called. Love that fight. And I really liked Victor's first fight. Before it, I didn't mind the Nemesis fight, but I just like before he turns into the Nemesis Gamma. Because I just like that whole section. I thought that was cool. And the fact that you can parry the rocket. Yeah. That is awesome. Okay. So
People parrying the freaking car.
oh my god, yeah, the cars. Yeah. It's insane. So
I've seen a video of it.
so killer. Yeah, so I think those three boss fights, Super Tyrant, the spider, and then the first form of Victor before the transformation. So, but really liked all the boss fights.
Yeah, the boss fights were exceptional. Bit of a contrast in playthrough, to be honest, because I found Mr. X's Super Tyrant boss fight really fucking difficult. Like, it literally took me probably like an hour to get through it because no, it's the complete opposite. Like, I really struggle with it. Yeah, spongy as hell, and then like he'd throw a car, like you'd make really good progress. Oh, what was really annoying? So you'd make really good progress, and you'd shoot him, and he will drop to one knee, and then you take too long getting to him, and then he stands back up. So all of that time is now wasted, and you've got to redo it again. Now you're out of ammo, and it was just rinse and repeat. But I finally got through that. But I found the Gideon boss fight really easy. I think I was done within about 5 minutes. Like, he aimed the rocket launcher at me, and I shot him, and he dropped it. I just picked the rocket launcher up and blew him away, and then it went into like the Nemesis form, which was. Did you miss? The hunk boss fight just completely come out of left field. Like, he just appeared like just aura farming basically, and then he's like killed within 5 minutes. No Xeno boss fight. Yeah. What the hell? Yeah. Like, we could have really done, like, they made such a big deal of it in the cutscenes. And one thing that you guys might not have necessarily picked up straight away is that he was like shooting at Xeno, because obviously he never has fought Wesker. So he would expect to shoot him, and he was reacting like, what the hell? And I thought that was really good that they kept that in there, that fighting Wesker is not necessarily common knowledge between all the characters. So, but then he completely like fucks all that up, because then he starts shooting directly at Mr. X, literally just after saying, I remember you, or something like that. And then he shoots straight at him, knowing that he's completely bulletproof.
When he shot the ceiling, I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, I've got no complaints about the boss battles. Obviously, I've not played it on Insanity like some of you guys have. So I'm looking forward to finally playing it on there, because like RE3 Remake, I found that quite easy. And then when I played it on like Inferno mode, I was like well scared. So yeah, no complaints from me.
Yeah, every boss fight was super fun. The Tyrant and Hunk and Gideon were I think my favorites. But yet again, I had it was just like really easy for some reason. They just didn't last long enough, because I had so much fun. I was like, no, don't end. I want to keep fighting, because they put so much time and effort into these really cool designs and boss fights. It just felt a little too short. It's kind of like why I wish they would have had like a hardcore difficulty, maybe in between Insanity and Standard and Classic, But I thought it was just every single boss fight was just so fun, so I just didn't want it to end.
Yeah, they were all definitely fun. All the bosses, but the one thing I have to say is that hunk fight, when we first went into it, I was so surprised. I was excited for the fight, right? I just went up to him with that hatchet and parried him a couple of times and just got him. And he was done in like what, under a minute? Yeah. I was like, oh my God. I felt so bad for like the viewers watching that. But
Then you start hitting while he was.
I think I teabagged him after. But yeah, they were all fun though. They were all fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know you could parry the car, and something like in me is saying you're lying. And if I die when I try, I'm going to be pissed, Tony.
You actually can.
But you can. Well, I guess Leon is him. So like, I mean, he can boot a zombie a country mile. Why can't he do that, right? So I guess why not, right? But yeah, I mean, pretty much agree. So pass over to Beggy.
Yeah, I felt similarly about Hunk. I thought the choreography was awesome when he was introduced, and I was like so into it. And I just like basically did the OG RE4 Krauser strategy. Like I just bullied him in a corner with like a hatchet, like just kind of like treated him like some kind of like animal. It was like herding it into like a barn or something. Like it felt kind of silly doing it, but it felt so cool watching the cutscenes that led up to it and that ended it. But yeah, no, but I mean, like I said, like a lot of rehashes, like I said earlier in this game, but they're done in such a clever way that kind of recontextualizes how you encounter each of the enemies. This sort of mutated plant. You have Mr. X fighting in a little bit of new context. So a lot of those, even so, are done very well and handled very well. If you consider any of these special sort of mutations that Grace encounters, like Chunk or the others, I think each of those have their own kind of nuances to taking down too, and those play much better into the survival horror element and like kind of item conservation than I would say Leon's do. Leon's, I felt like when you come across an enemy or a boss, you could take them down however you want. Like whatever you have will do, and they'll die. Like it's for Grace, it's like you almost always need something specific because she's just so limited in her options, and that kind of gave that scarcity a lot of value and a lot of meaning. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with the boss fights. One thing I want to feed off of you with the Wesker thing, or Xeno. When Leon was first introduced to him, there was just like no reaction as to, oh my God, this is Wesker. You know, it was just like,
That's what I'm
Not- yeah.
Never met with.
not, well, but he would know who he is.
Yeah.
Like he's very,
This guy literally almost destroyed the world.
huh?
He's not Western.
He's not Wesker, but
not, but he looks like
I
him.
feel like he looks and acts enough, like with the fast moving. Like I feel like Leon would be like, "Whoa."
But Leon might know what Wesker looks like, but he might not necessarily know that he's like super.
Like
Is
what
that-
was like to fight him, or like
yeah,
or
that
his
might
powers
be
or anything
possible.
like that.
Yeah.
So
That-
yeah, he might have never knew about that. Like, oh, he got dropped in a volcano. Well, I don't have to worry about him anymore. Right?
I suppose. I just feel like
Chris forgot to put into his report. Oh, by the way, don't shoot him. He might dodge every single thing he's thrown.
Why would he? He's dead, right?
Yeah.
So
no, I guess so. I just think that maybe all these characters will be close enough to be able to talk to each other about, you know, this is stay away from this guy. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, also Hunk too. I thought was super cool, but then maybe he's not dead. Maybe he's not dead.
Yeah.
But I do feel like, yeah, that should have been a little bit more.
Get a hatchet to the jugular.
Yeah.
So he's just never gonna be able to speak again.
I think it's cool that you take his hatchet.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
yeah, he just got his outfit from an army surplus store. It wasn't really Hunk. It was just somebody else cosplaying. Just took him down.
Yeah. No, I just thought it could have been more. But yeah, I'm sure he's still alive, and like you said, maybe they'll do a DLC of it or something. But all in all, boss fights I thought were super fun.
Yep, same thing. I think they did really good with the boss fights here, and just kind of like left that to Leon and not really giving it to Grace, because like her entire run just feels like, you know, panic. And I think that was something that they did very well, to where she didn't need a boss fight. I think that was like literally left up to, you know, Leon to do those things. And you know, I mean, I will admit I didn't like the Nemesis flesh wall that Gideon became, because I was just like, I think they could have done something a little bit better, or better than just rehashing that, especially
Yeah, a
since,
little more interesting.
yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't think he needed to be a flesh wall. I think it's like, it's just, he could have been something different. Like maybe what Nemesis looks like in his second form from the original 3, like just grows bigger and stronger kind of thing, and, loses the lab coat. Because for some reason there's people on Twitter thirsting for Gideon, and I question people sometimes. But no, like they were all great. Yeah, the hunk fight, it's just like when he walked through that door, my jaw just like dropped. And I'm like, no way. And I know Keith Silverstein's voice anywhere. And then when it was coming from that mask, cool, I was like, oh, this is literally what it is, isn't it? And so, yeah, it just overall, all the boss fights, except for like that one, were just really good. I mean, like the fight you finally do with Gideon and everything when he's jumping around and stuff, I thought that was fine. I thought it was pretty fun. Because I didn't know, like, I was shooting him in the face like multiple times with that like rifle and shotgun. And I'm like, am I doing anything to this guy? He just keeps powering up like he's like Senator Armstrong from Metal Gear. Like it was just, I was like, what's going on with this dude? And but like, yeah, they're all just really fun. They're great, and I hope that like it's not the last we see of Hunk. I really hope that his body not being there means he did like get back up again. Seems like it. Yeah, I that would be so great if he shows up in the future.
If he has RCS. That get, so I'm curious to see if they follow up on that too.
So yeah, for that thing, I just think it's kind of like a thing where they just go, hey, yeah, you were in the city and everybody was exposed, and probably like when he fought Birkin, there may have been like a tear in his suit or like the mask or something like that. So some of it could have gone in, but never really affected him on like a level like that. I just think that's kind of how it all works. Because even again, Timu Wesker has it, and it's like, can we get some answers, Capcom? Like you're like, the thing is, like, it's not like they're doing anything wrong. They're doing a lot of great things with that, but it's just like we kind of need answers. You introduce things and don't tell us anything. It's just like, yeah. I hope they give us a few DLC story stuff and some marks. That'd be great too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, echo a lot of what you guys had to say about the boss fights. I enjoyed them, and some of them were clever where you had to use the environments, and one thing I appreciated, I was worried because when we first got that demo, it seemed like it was very scripted, and to an extent it is very scripted, but you can go about that in multiple different ways. So I do like that there is some variety in how you can go about these boss battles. The Super Tyrant was definitely my favorite, and I'm sure a lot of nostalgia is tied to that. I agree. The final boss fight is very copy-paste, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was fine. I liked Gideon's little T-Rex arm he had, but then that was quickly gone. Yeah, it was just kind of hanging out over here. But no, I enjoyed him. Since we talked about Hunk Commander, honestly, that was probably like one of the most hype moments I had of the game. So when they showed him, and it was so fucking badass, dude. I even said, if Hunk is in this game, I will die. And once he showed up, I think I screamed. But yeah, like, I feel like a tasteful way to handle a character like that is like what they did with Krauser. That was epic. And you're like, okay, they respect each other, even though they're fighting, there's respect there. And when Commander Hunk was giving out the lines, like, I heard you were a smart ass or something like that, I was like, fuck yeah, dude, I love this. But then he just died. But the only reason why I'm kind of like, okay, is because his body does disappear, and it only makes sense that there'll be another Force survivor. Like, he literally died right before the lab collapsed, so you're probably going to be playing as him as he's like hobbling his way out, trying to escape while everything's collapsing. So I'll if there's nothing on him though, I'm gonna be pissed, But no, that's pretty much all I had to say about the boss fights. Is that I enjoyed them. Next up, we can probably talk about. We kind of touched on a lot of this, and this is probably going to go for a little while, but I'll move on to the villains. I think the villains will be a good one to discuss right now. There's a lot to unpack with these villains, and I think this is where like a lot of my strong areas of the game are, and also some of my weakest areas of the game. So we'll start with you, Anthony. You're in the hot seat.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's a big one. Well, let's start with just Gideon off the rip. I think that I really enjoyed Victor Gideon a lot. I forget who plays his voice. I'm not sure if any of you guys know, but tremendous job and very convincing. And even though he was like, a T-virus researcher, so he had that connection going for him, I thought that I really enjoyed all forms, just like, with the goggles, with him without the goggles, obviously his design, like how his body was, pretty much decaying almost until he finally transformed. And I just wish that he kind of got a little bit more screen time, because after the motorcycle chase, I understand that was like, a little bit of damage done to him, but I just wish that we got a little bit more with him, because I kind of really enjoyed his time on screen and his presence, and the vibe of him was really well done. So I think that it was pretty convincing for a villain. It was even more convincing than Simmons for me. And, obviously, the Bakers were the Bakers in 7, and then 8, you had all the house leaders. But I really enjoyed Victor Gideon as the villain that we thought that we were getting. Obviously, we didn't really see Xeno coming. And with Xeno, I really did enjoy all of us are going to mark out for the Wesker moves and everything, because it's awesome. So it's Silver Fox Wesker. And, I'm still down with it. But again, done just a little bit. Like, I wish we either had a boss fight with him or he also had more screen time. I feel like Victor Gideon needed more screen time, and maybe Xeno should have also kind of balanced that a little bit. But I didn't mind how they connected with this Spencer lore, because Spencer is still, one of the great villains, and we obviously know what happens to him, post the RE5 era, or just before that in the timeline. But I think that it was interesting that they made it like he wanted to just kind of do some good at the end. I don't know if that's going to sit well with a lot of fans. The fact that he wanted to go back and he wanted to just, cure and just undo kind of what he did. And he saw that symbol of he saw the human side from Grace, that she was just pure as is. And I think it worked. It didn't seem like so far removed. And because by the end of Spencer's life, the only person he trusted was his butler. That's it. And, so I feel like when you pushed everybody away and everyone's either betrayed you or you betrayed them, what else is there left to do than let me just try to fix whatever damage I've done, even if it's beyond what could actually be oh, I feel sorry for him. People might feel a certain way, but I think that between Spencer and how Victor looked at that as that was his master, and yeah, I like that connection. And I think that Xeno just was a little undercooked, but I did not hate the time that we had with him. I just wish that, again, this is where DLC opens up. So DLC story pending, obviously, as of this recording. But that's how I felt about the villains. I thought they were pretty well done. Just wish we had a little bit more screen time with Victor.
Yeah, kind of mirroring exactly what you're saying with Gideon and with Xeno. I mean, I genuinely think that Xeno, the whole reason why Xeno exists is because Capcom clearly regret killing Wesker in Resident Evil 5, but they still want to maintain that aura. I do think it's lazy writing. I mean, theoretically, you could have put anybody in that Xeno role because he has very surface level motivations that was described. And again, he didn't even have a boss fight or anything. So, but again, DLC pending, maybe that changes and we get a bit more added to the lore. But I mean, theoretically, you could have put Hunk. We were just talking about this the other day. You could have put Hunk in Xeno's position, and outside of some minor aura farming, there isn't really much that could have changed. So, yeah, I mean, overall though, in terms of Gideon, I thought was exceptional actually. He was really good. He had that great moment actually where you're in the basement lab, and he finally recognizes oh look, I did it, and it's and then he locks in and just leaves the room, and it's totally left field, but just had me popping. But yeah, he just, the best way to describe Gideon, I guess, is a super smart tyrant. That's kind of what he's billed as, even though he does look like Edgar from Men in Black. He looks like he's wearing someone else, sugar in water, more. So yeah, no, he's exceptional, man, and just a perfect Resident Evil villain, in my opinion.
Yeah, same. I think Gideon was my favorite of them. Xeno was a missed opportunity, and hopefully they do have a DLC for him. But yeah, wasn't too attached to Xeno, so I wasn't too disappointed at the same time. You know what I mean? So it was more they introduced Gideon in the start of the game, and they ended with him. So it made sense in that aspect. I just think that Xeno kind of felt he didn't really actually have to be there, even though he was really cool. His moves and everything looked really cool, and his lines were cool. But his motivations at the end were kind of confusing, and he made some weird choices. So yeah, kind of a missed opportunity. But overall, Gideon was pretty cool.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Victor was definitely the shining light, and Zeno, like you guys said, I hope they do a DLC on him. We need more on him. We have no idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
We need some more on that.
Yeah. Just not to harp on the whole Gideon being great thing, but yeah, was very easy to get attached to as a villain. He's the actor, completely stole the show. Tony Bryan, I think that's how you say that. Thank you, Indica Hybrid, told us that he's the one that plays Victor. But yeah, definitely nailed it. His character's motivations are pretty great. So it's definitely coming to this from like Mother Miranda being like, oh, by the way, I'm here all along, and you only know that because you read some files. This was definitely implemented well. Like in RE7, I like Jack Baker, and then you see his motivations, what happened to him, especially through the DLC. He was a good villain too, but I think Gideon was done pretty well. People are thinking like the Wesker clone stuff is lazy, but I mean, he's definitely the type of dude that would have some sort of like dead man switch or backup plan for clones or either him or Alex or something. So definitely DLC or something's needed to like explain all of his stuff a lot better. It's just feels a very open-ended. And again, like he really didn't need to be there. So, I mean, not that he didn't need to be there, but he could have been somebody else. So, go ahead, Becky.
Are we going to get deep into like all of the story stuff now? Or should we have a section for story?
I think we're gonna have just the section for story.
Okay, cool.
Next one I want to say is, what do you guys think?
Cool. So I'll save some of the things I'll save. I had to save for later. One of the things. Yeah, I think. What you were saying with Victor's appearance and like his design, all of his sort of snaky serpentine sort of look, snake skin. I found that really fascinating because a lot of the mythology archetypes that you'll read about in different cultures, and this is like one of the biggest archetypes that you'll see pretty much in every single culture that has ever existed. It's called Ouroboros. It's an archetype, and similar to Wesker, he falls into this class of villains that wants to cleanse the slate of humanity and wants to start something anew. And to be the Ouroboros entity, to be Ouroboros, they are essentially that entity that is pre-existent before everything. They want to be there before the creation of some new world. For Victor, that new world is a world where nations don't have any sort of deadlock placed on one another by using viral infections, viral weapons, because it's going to basically negate or nullify the effect of any viral weapons. Now, other sort of bioagents they still could be in play, but Elpis is essentially by Victor releasing that, he's sort of negating this. He's sort of shedding the skin of the snake on that world that once was, where there was a viral deadlock on some countries of other countries, which is confusing to me because that to me is a lot of what the BSAA and the DSO was actually trying to do for many years. They're trying to remove the power disparities between regions that were put in place because of viral weapons, which is strange because usually you want a hero and a villain in a final confrontation, Leon and Victor, to have very obviously opposite or opposing or antagonistic sort of motivations. They kind of have the same motivation, but they want to be the one to decide how precisely it's used. But I thought that was kind of strange, was that like either of them could kind of get it at this point, but they've had this run in. And Victor, yeah, like everything about him, I really loved his theme. Kind of like, even with that little bit of that confusion of like, don't you and Leon want the same thing? Once I heard his music kick in, I was just so into it that I was like, I'm so ready for this fight. He's definitely the strongest villain of the 7, 8, 9 era, in my opinion. So, but he was great. I'll save more of the Xeno stuff for later.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of my thoughts echo a lot of your guys' thoughts on the villains of this game. Again, I liked Gideon. I thought he was a really cool villain. I thought Xeno was just underused and not very explained very well. And their motives at the end were questionable. The thing I really didn't like was bringing Spencer back into it and having him show a sense of empathy or whatever. That to me was weird because like you always had this sense that he was just this evil, greedy corporate CEO dude that just didn't really care about anything or anyone but himself. And then now it's like, this is the thing that I don't really like about these newer era games is the constant changing of the lore and and tweaking things that like don't need to be tweaked. Just don't mess with the story. Like, don't mess with the story and you'll be fine. So, and I get the whole concept of bridging gaps and this and that, which makes sense. But a big turnoff for me with 8 was the whole Mother Miranda thing. It's like she was really the villain the whole time, or I don't even remember, but it was like, dude, come on.
Spencer with
Yeah,
Miranda,
exactly.
You wouldn't even know that unless like you like read like the stuff in the room. They kind of like low dumped all of the connections towards the end of the game.
I was just a little shocked at that one. I was like, dude.
Yeah, not like really connected to her because she's just here and gone throughout the story. It's not like intimate moments where Zeno's like has Leon tied up and is all like interacting.
That was a weird moment too. I was like, what is going on here?
The edit have like Careless Whisper playing while he's
Someone needs to add some different music to that scene. But yeah, I think the whole Spencer thing was probably my biggest gripe with villain wise. But other than that, pretty cool.
I mean, Victor was fine, I guess, for the most part. I like the fact that he was kind of in the game a lot. Like he really kept just showing up at all these different places, and I didn't like realize how tall he was at first. Then like when you really got to see him, it's like, oh, he's a big boy. Like he's up there. So he just kind of gave off Chief Menendez from like RE4 kind of vibes with how he was. Where he's just like walking, and just like throwing Leon around and stuff. I thought he was great in some parts, but again, one of those things where he's introduced and it's like, hey, do we get some more background on this guy? He's just like a super simp for like Spencer and all that jazz. And I don't know. I just think he's kind of like losing his mind towards the end. I mean, him being a nemesis, I thought was cool though. It would explain his like affinity and like hard on for using a rocket launcher on you and everything. But I thought he was good. I thought that was pretty good that he was like another nemesis. Again, throwing it back, you're in Raccoon City. Nemesis was there. Now we got one that is somehow different and like is in control of himself. So I also don't understand like how nobody like questioned this guy, him running a hospital looking like Frankenstein. And just like no one's like, hey, this guy might not be all there. But he's good. Like I said, there's just things that like when they added to it, it was just like, okay, can we get a little bit more about him? I mean, he's got connections to Raccoon City, Spencer himself, and all that. So something that just didn't answer. And given the way that Capcom does these things, I don't think he'll ever be mentioned ever again. I'm not too sure on that, but.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say something. It is really interesting too. Now looking back on it, Victor being this like ultimate unwavering loyalist of Spencer's. Yeah. Spencer must have created him with the instruction to like really go deep on his true intentions and try to fulfill them and unleash that upon the world. Because like with a nemesis, you need to like embed some sort of code or instruction about like what is your mission, and it's amazing how intelligent he got. Like you're saying, like nemesis don't really get that way, and to see one that was so unwaveringly loyal and just like and so persistent, that was cool. So maybe Spencer created him some time back. Yeah,
I like Victor a lot. I love that scene where he snaps and walks in when he's laughing, because it just shows you like this is a force to be reckoned with. This guy has a goal and he's going to see it through. But it also showed a little bit of humanity. The biggest thing with Zeno though is I honestly thought they were like Wesker's back, and it was so mind blowing when the scene actually happened. Like holy shit, he's back, and this is how he would look. I actually was spoiled on two things. I was spoiled on Leon dying, which I still haven't watched the bad ending. I'm saving it for stream.
When I watched it back, it actually wasn't even a big deal.
Yeah,
you don't even see him really. It's kind of off screen.
Yeah, and then Mr. X. Everything else though was a surprise to me. Hunk, Zeno, all that was a surprise. So I was actually shocked at how much I didn't have spoiled for me. But so to Zeno, and again, it kind of goes to your point about kind of missed opportunity. I really thought that he was going to be the villain, and then when Gideon shows like he's actually good, I was like, oh, it's gonna be everybody versus Wesker, right? And I thought that would have been great. And I love that they injected him, and now he lost his powers. He was like, okay, we're going to get Resident Evil 1 Wesker again, where he just is, playing people. Like, he's using his intelligence and his wits instead of being able to dodge bullets and stuff. But then all of a sudden he was beheaded, and I was like, well, shit, what was the point? What was the point of that? But I think the DLC may add some answers to that. But I overall I like the villains. It's just some of their motives that was kind of an issue. But Victor Gideon, definitely a highlight. Hunk was awesome, but that was so short, and I think he's gonna have a DLC escaping. I don't think he's dead. His body was gone. I'm trying to think if there's any other villains. Wasn't there one more that we're missing? Spencer. Yeah, I really like seeing Spencer. I don't mind that he's kind of like coming to this realization of the things he did. But the problem is, like, the timeline gets a little bit messy here, and that kind of retcons the moments of 5, or at least complicates them, right? So, but I did like seeing him there. Yeah, okay. Now we're going to get into the big one, guys. Story. So, and this is probably where I have the most flaws with the game, is the story. Everything else that I talked about was just minor little things here and there, but the story itself is
Plot holes specifically.
a lot of plot holes. So I'll start with you, Anthony. Let's get into the story.
All right. Story. I think with something like this, like, there is a lot of, when you go back to Raccoon City and you go back to something that was originally just completely wiped and it wasn't actually there and standing. Obviously, the end of Outbreak, they were building on top of the rubble, which was always a cool thing in Outbreak. But you run the risk of a lot of lore connections and plot holes when you go back to something after such a long time. So they said that in a lot of the producers and a director, Kumazawa and Nakanishi, were saying, like, we knew this was going to be risky. And I think they just took the risk and said, screw it, we're just going to see what we can connect. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. And I think some of that here, like you were mentioning about Spencer and like how we see his whole character pretty much get clapped by Wesker and RE5, and how they might change that if they ever remake 5 and stuff like that. That's another conversation. But I think story-wise, I think it felt really good to see a new character like Grace, who is related to Alyssa, or not related to Alyssa, but connected to Alyssa, and then we find out she's not. But I still like the fact that Alyssa Ashcroft, while she did adopt her and took her in as her own, it was still cool to see that, like, Alyssa was, like, even referenced and talked about, and we saw her. And then Grace just was a character that I just ended up liking a lot, and really seeing that, like, kind of that mother figure in her when she took Emily in, and to kind of like bring that full circle was really good for her side of the story. And then for Leon, I think Leon, he is just, it's a dark Leon. He's been through so much. The people that he's lost, you see that in his eyes when he's visiting Kendo and he sees the remains, and you see the shotgun. These are things that are very emotional, and I don't think it's just something that they definitely had to go back and really work on how that they can connect all this stuff. And while some stuff is a little, like, we always have these issues of things not being finished or continued in Resident Evil. Like, sometimes they leave things open, they never go back to it. What's going on with this villain, that villain, this character mentioned, this clone, all these things. And so I think, as far as like a story overall, while there is holes in there, some stuff that doesn't make sense, again, DLC still pending, so that's something to consider until I guess we have a final wrap on like this little RE9 era story wise. But I think as the game as a whole, just as is without DLC story right now, I really enjoyed how it flowed, and I liked seeing an old veteran character like Leon go through this and have this pretty much near death experience. And I just think that, like, the better ending, I should say, or the canon ending, because that's basically what it is. I liked how that kind of unfolded, because, I think the bad ending is just kind of like, you don't even get a boss fight. It just kind of ends. And the game even tells you when you get to the results screen, hey, do you want to go back and try that again? Like, so the game is pretty much telling you, like, what's the better way to go about it. But I thought Elpis was a cool little, twist within that. And Spencer just saying, listen, like, I'm old and alone and tired, and there just has to be something left in my last like days where I know I'm sick and my time's limited. And Grace was, that hope, so to speak. That was the password. But the fact that Alyssa took her in and we had all these things that I think connected pretty well off of each other. I think some people were a little bummed out that Grace didn't have like more to her, like she wasn't special. But I think people wanted the daylight to be brought in, and maybe, but like they didn't really talk about that. That wasn't because, and it didn't matter because she wasn't related to Alyssa. So they didn't even mention that. But I was still fine with what they did, and again, it was still cool seeing all of these stories kind of, progress a little bit in the RE9, because 7 and 8 stories, while the Ethan Winter stories were cool for some people, they kind of felt more like they were just on the side, where this kind of felt like it was just pulling along the string a little bit that was left hanging after RE6. So I think with what they did with that, it was pretty well done. So while there is plot holes and there's stuff that I'm still kind of thinking about as I'm, kind of prepping for, talking about this more throughout this month, I think they did a pretty good job in the more recent mainline RE titles that we've seen in the last few years. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like retread old ground because that was a fairly complex analysis of it, but there were like some annoying plot holes, and this is what kind of stops it from being the GOAT. Just how like convenient Raccoon City syndrome is. Like, it's obviously hides in your system undetectable levels, and then all at the same time, 26 years later, it gets everyone. But they don't even address that because obviously there was more characters that survived Raccoon City. So, like, what about Chris? What about Barry?
Right.
All of these characters will have, I guess they're all going to get cured off screen,
right,
but would be the safe assumption. There was just like plot holes like that. Obviously, I totally appreciate there needed to be something that they needed to do to bring Leon back to Raccoon City, and I'm not fucking smart enough to come up with that narrative myself, so all I do is criticize. But the point is, like, I just find like Raccoon City syndrome is just such a lazy way to like get everybody back, because like Outbreak characters, for example, assuming they were the Raccoon City 6 that died, like they wouldn't have Raccoon City syndrome because Daylight cured the T virus. So how
Daylight canon at this point, right?
Yeah.
That's another question.
Well, yeah, and then you start.
Underlying like virus to it, like it's still within them. It might have got eradicated, but because of the mutation aspect, because Jill had traces of like the Nemesis virus in her, even though she was cured from that. So,
well, I mean, she's completely fucked then, because she's got the Nemesis levels in her. She's got. She's got Raccoon City syndrome. Gosh, she is just her. I wouldn't want to see her. I wouldn't want to see her blood work, would you? Just an absolute mess. There are a couple of other ones that were on top of my head, but it's like we can't. I feel like we've spoken this whole weekend about Requiem. You're kind of chasing your own ass, but it is stuff like that which. It makes Requiem quite frustrating, because it becomes a game about just narrative convenience rather than actually looking to push the envelope kind of forward. Obviously, Zeno, like, he's such a surface level character. We really needed a full understanding of why he was there, how he got to where he was. There was nothing. It was literally like, oh, this is a cool guy who looks like Wesker but isn't Wesker, and now he just gets beheaded. It's just like a pointless exercise. Although it is kind of poetic, really, because, Gideon was like, you are an imitation. Great line. And then he just cuts his head off. So maybe that's a bit of poetic justice, that he is actually a meaningless character, because the Gideon just come in and beheaded him like it was nothing. So maybe there's some like symbolism in there. But yeah, as I said, the story is genuinely really good. It's just those couple of plot holes just stop it from being the GOAT.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Leon's story. I thought if it was just about Leon, the story could have been nearly perfect if it was just about him. But there was a lot of like convoluted stuff going on there. We already talked about Zeno. Also, did anybody talk about what happened with Grace? She got bit by the zombie and nothing happens to her.
First ever canon.
Like, what is that all about? So that is either a huge mistake or they're gonna need to explain that later in DLC. But I mean, you can't just rely on DLC for everything, Capcom. But anyway, but Leon's story I thought was like a 10 out of 10. Great, like hero meets a big challenge. He's dying. You feel for the guy. Your heart's going out to him. You don't want him to die, but they really make you feel like he's gonna die. And then when that feeling you get when he comes back at full strength, you're like, yeah, let's go. That was awesome. So I love Leon in this game. And I thought if it was just about him, I thought the story would have been like a 10 out of 10. The thing about Spencer, I don't think he was ever going to be redeemed for any one good deed. So I don't think it mattered necessarily that he did like this one good deed before he died. There's lots of examples in our history of tyrants and dictators, evil people doing good deeds. It doesn't negate the evil that they've done. So I'm not really bothered by Spencer. I don't really think that's a retcon of him as a character. I still think he was evil, but he wanted to do something maybe positive before he died, which is fine, but that doesn't make him a good person. So overall, though, I thought the story was convoluted, a little bit confusing, but fun, and I enjoyed it for the most part.
Yeah, definitely on my first playthrough, actually, I liked the story quite a bit, and I didn't see a lot of those plot holes. But like the other night, we stayed up pretty late there, and we were just talking about the story and talking about it. Right. And the more we talked about it, the more holes there were, and they either need to clear it up in some DLC or something. Like there's some holes, man, but I still like the story quite a bit.
Yeah, like at this point, we're going to have like 13 DLCs with how many plot holes that we need to fix. I don't know how many of you are counting at home, but yeah, I agree with Dave there that Leon's part was actually really good. Like him needing to come back to Raccoon City to get some sort of closure. I don't know if the Raccoon City virus is like a way to put it as being lazy, but him coming back, but it does open like up what's going to happen to like Jill and Claire and Chris and Barry and all these other people that are here. They're going to get cured off screen, or are we going to have RE10 that's going to be happening simultaneously and they're going through their struggles, something like that? Or is it going to be our 14th DLC? I don't know. But giving the mic to Anthony right off the bat is kind of hard because he like really encapsulated it very well. So like a lot of what we say is kind of redundant. And I think the take on like Spencer's 180 there is going to be probably pretty divisive among how people receive the game. But I think you put it very well. Like in your final moments when you're reflecting back on your life, you're like, I was successfully an asshole the whole time. Fuck yeah. And then you die. Like you're going to be like, man, I really should do something that's good. Like something like your legacy isn't just you are this huge jerk, like success, But I think how you put it actually makes a lot of sense. And I really like that twist. And at some point we need some closure on a lot of these loose ends, and like a cure for a lot of this stuff is a good step towards that type of closure, because we're not going to go to Resident Evil 20 just progressing the story with never addressing anything. So Raccoon City's story arc coming to a close, at least in some capacity, I think is a good move. But regardless of how people think they accomplished that, but I mean, it's moving forward in some way. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Baggy.
Yeah, so similarly with what Bob was saying, like what I really appreciated about the ending of this game was Grace's report, because if we look here, we look just how far back this sort of rivalry and animosity between Spencer and Marcus went, and when the sort of seeds were planted for revenge against Spencer's umbrella by Marcus, we understand the connections between all of the members of these different affiliations much more clearly. So, for example, given the fact that HCF and Tricell were all kind of like affiliated with the connections under ARC as like a sort of like main hub for experimentation, we now know that essentially Wesker and Code Veronica and Wesker and RE5 through HCF and Tricell respectively were sort of affiliated with the connections. So him and ostensibly Ada too, right, are now sort of delivering what they've gotten through their espionage to the connections as a sort of revenge plot. However, each of these villains, Wesker, Victor, Gideon, other folks go about sort of, and even Zeno in this case, go about their sort of vision of the world in a very different manner. You know, Wesker wants Ouroboros to basically be his means of achieving a world where only those that are genetically worthy get to survive. You know, Xeno wants this sort of wish for mind control over nations at like a mass scale, and Victor wants to sort of take on those seeds that have been planted by Spencer, however, to complete the reverse revenge plot of like Spencer against the connections. Here's the final FU of like beyond the grave. I have this nemesis Gamma who set out to basically take what I had and mislead those in the connections to believe it to be something that it is not, and that is Elpis. Elpis is not a mind control device. It is the ultimate deception. And so planting those seeds and kind of looking at how all of that rivalry was brewing through Grace's report, like through the years, I think that's like miles and miles and miles beyond what 7 and 8 had done for the universe of Resident Evil, of the world of Resident Evil, because those being outstanding, they just weren't really interacted with enough. There was a file about HCF and the connections together creating the mold in RE7, for example. So there's little bits of that. You kind of see, okay, maybe this organization is connected to the connections, maybe this organization, but now we kind of know, we kind of understood who is going up to bat for the connections. And then we have Victor basically being like Spencer's ultimate sort of loyalist, going to bat for him beyond the grave. And he's like, I will convince them of something that, you know, that isn't really the case. And I will also kind of confirm that myself. I will get Grace, and I think that he was running those tests and he was like, I got it. You know, I think he was doing all that kind of stuff and putting her on a stretcher and running these blood tests to confirm that she was nothing special. I think that's what he was trying to do, like retroactively, like, because that's all he has to know to understand Spencer's larger goal. And he must have been programmed to have sought out Spencer's larger goal in the end. So he's the ultimate servant, right? And he was programmed to fulfill that wish. So I think that aspect of it is really cool. That being said, I think some of the decisions made didn't align with the actual logic that the villains were following. So for Xeno, we put up a video about it recently, and one thing that was just really not making sense to me much at all, on like multiple levels, was the decision to inject himself, because he describes earlier that the sort of means to control another's will already exists, right? However, we have not found out how to spread it efficiently. He's talking about Las Plagas. He might be talking about the mold too, but he's talking about Las Plagas. You need to individually implant Las Plagas into the mouths or however you do it, so that we get a host and we can control that host with a controller plaga, a dominant plaga, right? So he's saying, he's basically suggesting that a virus would allow us to efficiently spread something to mass populations. Through there, we can control them through Elpis, or at least what he thought it would let him do, right? That's really bizarre, because once he gets his hands on Elpis, thinking what he thinks about it, he injects himself, right? If it's a virus and if it's meant to be spread en masse, why are you spreading it to yourself? You should be spreading it to the populations that you're trying to control, right? And someone brought up a point that had me thinking. I considered this in the video too. He was like, what if it acts like Las Plagas too? What if he injected himself with a dominant, and he's going to spread a recessive plaga among the gene pool? However, that's really bogus logic, because if you look at Elpis, it's only one thing. It's just one sort of vial. And also, why would someone who's, as he said, wasted so much time and research and money on this, right, so brashly assume all of those things about something that he doesn't know what it is, and then immediately inject himself when he was the one describing that to spread it efficiently, it should be a virus. It's so bogus. Like, it's dumb on multiple levels, because not only are you not going to that logic of like how to spread this bioagent to control people, but it's also really brash, because like, I'm not even going to test it on one person that isn't me.
Just immediately inject it on yourself.
How would the logic behind that even work? You know, like nothing like that has existed in Resident Evil. And all of these bioagents and bioweapons, they all build off of one another, and they get closer to someone's vision. It's like, okay, this one, we were able to experience some physical advantages, but they weren't able to retain their intelligence, right? And then we get a little bit closer, type 1 plagas, type 2, type 3 plagas, right? So I think that was really bogus. The decisions he was making were like, were like beyond dumb on like a few levels that were like they weren't as distracting in the moment as they were when looking at it retroactively to the earlier scenes of when he's with Grace in the RPD explaining it. I think that's when it starts to fall apart more. And then the other thing that I alluded to earlier is that Victor, with his goal of spreading Elpis all like globally, basically worldwide, that's really bizarre to me that his goals are so conflicting with organizations like the BSA and the DSO, because that's what Chris and those organizations have been trying to do. They've been trying to prevent power disparities by means of viral infection. That's what Victor's trying to do. So that's just bizarre. And like JJ was saying, if there was some way that we could show how Victor understands what Zeno doesn't know and mistakenly believes, and Zeno and Victor would be like, yes, we need to spread this. He could team up with Leon. Maybe he would heroically give his life to get Elpis back from Zeno, knowing what it is, and finally finish the fight. That would make more sense, because Leon and Zeno have fundamentally antithetical means of using Elpis. Victor and Leon do not. They basically have the same thing. So it's almost like they're just like fighting out of spite at that point. It's just a little bit strange to think about it. And then there's another thing too. I'll be done after this, but like it's like basically that the whole cloning debacle with the sort of all the red herrings or the false like kind of alarms of you have Grace, you have Chloe, you have Emily, you have this orphanage, right? And Chloe is supposedly the one that you play as when you go to the flashback. So, and you read the file that's like, this particular girl was able to withstand, she was able to have improved stability and not develop these mental abnormalities when injecting that mutated T and Spencer's blood plasma. They were injecting Spencer's blood plasma into hundreds of little girls trying to preserve his memories, because his goal was to basically he said that like when great leaders, exceptional people are lost in the gene pool, humanity suffers greatly. How do we prevent that? We transfer their memories into new bodies, right? With how convoluted that was and how separate Grace was from that, I think with what David was saying, he was saying that early on when Grace gets bitten in the arm by a T-virus zombie, if she had something like daylight or was special in some other way to sort of go in line with that, they wouldn't have had to rely on all of this red herring and cloning stuff. Like I understand that Resident Evil always tries to do that with their trailers and just kind of how they all like try to misrepresent the truth and then it's really something else. But I think they did a little bit too much of that and made it a little bit too convoluted. And ultimately, a lot of what was going on in that facility, I didn't think that it was presented in a way that actually benefited the presentation of the narrative. It was just kind of running in circles a little bit. But yeah, so I think those are some of the issues. Overall, like there are many other aspects to love. Again, Grace's report is amazing. Just the intent to create it, not even like the content of it. I think the content of it is good, but like to make the decision to try to reconcile all of the lore between these different affiliations and factions, that's just it's a great decision. Yeah. 60 good. Yeah. Good files.
Some of the best in the series, honestly.
Yeah.
How do I follow that? Yeah, so my biggest gripe with the game was definitely the story. That's it. That's the only reason why I really give it a 7.5. Gameplay was fantastic. Creature design, all this stuff we talked about. Story, I was not a fan of this story whatsoever. It was just very complex, confusing. The fact that we have to sit here and talk about it for this long was like, bro, you know what I mean? Let's flush this story out. Yeah, and again, the Spencer thing I wasn't a fan of. I've never really been a big fan of cloning stuff in general in stories. So that was kind of a huge turnoff for me. But yeah, and then Zeno, obviously, or Timu Wesker, as everyone calls him. But one other thing I want to mention that I thought was really cool about the game was the set design and the art department stuff.
Oh yeah.
I'm not normally a fan of like the new look of Nest and all this stuff, the very sleek, pristine. Yeah. This game though, I thought it reminded me very of like Kubrick type film. Yeah, with the red and the white, the single point perspective. And then you have those statues that were in the main part of it. That was super cool. So I thought that was noteworthy to highlight out of all that stuff. But yeah, story for me wasn't. I guess we'll see what happens with DLC. But all 14 of them. So yeah.
Yeah, like I wasn't really a fan of the story that much either, because like again, we talked about this earlier. It's just nothing but Swiss cheese half the time. Like nothing really makes sense and goes anywhere. And honestly, this is weird. Now, obviously, leading up to this, everybody was afraid that like Leon was gonna die, and obviously, if you choose the right ending, he doesn't. Like he gets cured and everything. He lives to fight another day, and it seems like they're gonna really like connect to. They're already trying to connect to the next story. Which also that's hard to believe because Resident Evil doesn't really do that much. But I really did enjoy like some of the things that they did. But just overall, like the stories and stuff. Like again, like I thought what would have been good for the story is if like Timu Wesker was actually Spencer himself, because I thought it was mainly because like this whole I was talking about this and it's like I felt that. It's kind of like if anybody's ever seen Batman Beyond Return of the Joker like reappeared like 60 years later and knew who Batman was. He remembered everything, all because like his memories got put in like a chip and everything. And so I thought that, the connections recovered Spencer's body somehow, because we don't know what happened to his body after that whole situation in the mansion during the fight with Wesker. And so I thought they got the blood from him and were able to like transfer his consciousness and all that stuff into the fake Wesker body, bring back the Wesker project. That's what I thought this was. And I thought they was just going to slowly take time. And then eventually he would reveal himself and everything. I thought that would be like what it was. And I thought that would have actually worked a lot better, because I don't like the whole thing of him like growing a conscience at the end. Yeah. It's like this dude literally killed one of his best friends who he started the company with. And he probably would have done it to Ashford if his own fucking kids didn't. Yeah. Like he didn't care about nobody or nothing. Even Wesker at least cared about Birkin. Anything. Spencer didn't care about nobody. So, but yeah, like when it all was said and done, like, if honestly, like the bad ending, I kind of felt that should have been the direction we would have gone and kept, Wesker alive. And that way, Guy Aura Farms pops out and everything. Now we've got a villain that lasts more than 2 fucking games, everything, because all of them now just get off in the game they get introduced in. I mean, well, like Evelyn kind of appeared a little bit in Village. She appeared a little bit in that, which was pretty cool, but not like in a substantial way. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad Leon's not dead, because Nick gets to continue to do work for the company, which is great. But like just like the way he died and stuff, and like that thing where he was saying is like, at least I could save you, and then fucking brains get blown out and everything. There's just chunks everywhere. I mean, like that, he literally like is using the Pale Rider from Raid mode from Rev 2. Like that thing was fucking huge. But yeah, it was just like too many plot holes and it just didn't connect. And if it's one of those things where, sure, yeah, you might fix it in Resident Evil 10 or whatever the case may be, but it's like, fix your thing and make it solid, and then leave it trailed for the future. Like leave people wondering, a little bit of a cliffhanger. It's like, wait a minute, so this is really happening? And also the fact that like Ada showed up nowhere in this game at all. Yeah. Like, I mean, yeah, it could be. Look. All right, look. I thought about this. I thought about this before but when I first beat the game, this woman would never. I mean, yeah, she blue balled this guy for like 20 something years and everything, but like she would never let him die. So my theory was when they're on the freeway and then Gideon like just goes off the ramp and like falls into the smoke cloud and everything. I was like, you don't see the body. He ain't dead. And so when he showed up missing an arm, part of me was like, okay, what if one of the DLCs is actually like Ada out in Raccoon City somewhere, and she actually has to go up against him to keep him from getting to the Ark, because maybe she's suffering just as bad from Raccoon City syndrome or whatever, right? I think something like that would have been good. That way it lets Grace and all of them get through the Ark. And she buys them the time that's needed. Kind of like when she did in RE4 when she was holding off Sadler while Leon grabbed Ashley out of that tube and shit. I think that would have been a very better way to handle that. So again, she could show up and everything, and she was scrapped from Village, so at least give her that. Because I mean, she was a big part of what happened in in Raccoon City for Leon. That was a huge thing. Like, I mean, yeah, he cares about her, but it haunted him for a long time. So. I mean, like, I don't know when he found out that she wasn't there. Sorry, like that when she was alive. They never really like suggest when he finds out, because in RE4, he just acts like he assumes. But overall, yeah, like the story was just kind of weak in a lot of ways, and I think if they really just didn't do some of the things they did, it would have been better. I think like what we've all discussed and what I just said, I think would have worked 10 times better and still left a mystery for a future entry.
Oh yeah, the one thing that was so funny, that Victor bike scene where like he's like raw and then he like shoots him, like there was something about that just immediately made me think of the SpongeBob episode with the jellyfish stinging Squidward, and Squidward gets like stung and he goes down, like tumbling down and like explodes. Like it was like just like Victor, and like he made the noises like that. Yeah, like ow. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's one of my biggest complaints is the story itself. You know, part of me wishes they would have just stuck with the whole daylight vaccine. Like, I know we all kind of guessed it and speculated it, but it seems like it would have made more sense. You know, she's special. They're doing all these experiments with blood for the memory transfer, her blood with the daylight vaccine. You know, that made sense. But then to kind of do a subversion of expectations, I didn't think it worked. I mean, like, if you think about it, like Victor Gideon, when he says, "I've done it, I've finally done it," what did he do? Well, what did he do? He didn't do anything.
I think he was just simping so hard he was just off the reservation at that
Yeah, like so that didn't make sense. And then, you know, the whole kind of flashback to the orphanage, you know, did Zeno allude that she was the first and she's of clones? Because did he allude that?
Like Chloe was the first one.
That Grace is the first.
Well, because I know it was Chloe, but it was the player was made to think that, oh, that must be Grace when she's younger. But like in 1990, she would be like, you know, a lot older.
We knew it was
So
Emily. It was
yeah.
a clone that became, and then it got to Emily at a certain point.
Okay, so that makes more sense. But yeah, like I was gonna say, like, is he stupid? Like, look at the age difference. You know what I mean? He kind of is stupid. But like, no, it just turns out she's nothing special. And like, literally, this entire game and all this money that they've been investing in everything was literally just to get her to put a password in. Yeah. That seems silly. That seems very silly. Why do all this shit just to get a password? Password is password. It's Veronica. You guys, the password's Veronica. But yeah, it's we went through all the shit just because they needed her to do the password, and I don't know, you know.
The password.
So yeah, again though, everything else, the gameplay, the environments, the locations, the things that you do, I really enjoyed all of it. It was just my biggest complaint is thinking about this story. And honestly, I could just go on like we did the past few nights where we talked for hours on the story and the plot holes. But I think that summarized up our thoughts really well. I think Beggy touched on everything, kind of encapsulating it like a really well job. Thank you, Beggy.
One more thing before we move on.
Yeah, sure.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
I guess this isn't something we really touched on. It's like kind of about how 9 coming after like the story of 7 and 8. I know I probably like 7 and 8 more than the rest of the people here on the team, but I know that's from like far removed parts of the world what happened in like the village in 8 and what's happening in Raccoon City. But I guess it kind of even just like makes it feel more like Miranda was just like shoehorned in, how like the Kadu and the mold and none of that stuff at all was even referenced at all in the thing for Elpis, right? How like those events literally didn't matter in 7 and 8. Like how Miranda was with Spencer all this time. Like we've saw aspects like Peggy said, like maybe the transferring consciousness, we saw that in the like the will and stuff like that with the mold and stuff. Maybe that could have been mentioned like with how they were trying to like beta version of Elpis and stuff. Like they didn't touch on any of that at all. Didn't even mention it tangentially. Yeah. Right. So it's as far as like story progression, like it like even like solidifies people's like kind of dislike for 7 and 8 even a little bit more. They didn't even try to like salvage it with the lore of tie-ins, like something like that.
I got a question for you. You forget about it.
What?
I got a question for you.
What was that?
Hold the mic.
Yeah, let me say they can't hear it. Let's see it.
Would you rather the big tall scary lady or the big fat boy?
Both at the same time.
So if you're in Gideon, and Zeno's in you, do you move forward or do you move backward?
Both ways as fast as I can. but yeah.
I think that might be our analysis done on this subject.
About the Miranda thing, there is a little bit of a loop around to her. There is like one of the rooms that you find, and there's a suggestion like maybe they liked each other, like maybe Spencer and Miranda liked each other, and maybe a lot of Miranda's work with the Megamycete was actually inspiring things like Alex Wesker's work with it, or maybe vice versa. Maybe Alex had that idea because she had this ailing, frail body, right? Maybe she would want to experiment with something like memory or consciousness transfer before Spencer, or maybe it came from Miranda and then went to Alex and then to Spencer, or from any way, number of ways. But they're all messing with the same ideas, which is also fascinating because I almost think that if they do a Zero remake anytime in the near future, they're going to tie this whole memory absorption and transfer and blood transformation thing back to Marcus, because Marcus died in exactly the same manner that the girl did, sunlight, right? So the shutters open. Only the girl could be killed by only sunlight could kill the girl, right? So similarly with Marcus, it's almost like the Queen Leech absorbed his memories and his consciousness, and he underwent this blood transformation, just like it says in the files, and then he was then susceptible to only be killed by sunlight, like nothing else could end it. I wonder if they're going to tie that back around, because nothing else that you fight in terms of T-virus creatures that are like special mutations that like you see with Grace in the Chronic Care Center are really like out in the daylight. Like the rotted zombies that Leon fights, they are. But the other ones, they're all like either at night or like inside. I just wonder if that's anything significant, but yeah.
All right. I think we could go on. There's a lot of things, like talk about the music. The music was fantastic. I love the synth added to it, right? We could talk about the different gun variety, but I think this kind of is a good encapsulation of all of our thoughts, where we sit, kind of why our reviews were the way they were when we first gave them at the beginning of this. Honestly, I don't think there's too much more to cover. Like, we basically explained that the best we could without dragging it on, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so now I guess what I'll do is just pass this around for any final thoughts, and then we will go into all of our super chats and questions from the community. So I'll pass it to you. If you don't have anything, just pass it to the next person.
Cool. Yeah. Final thoughts. Final thoughts. It was a great experience to play through a mainline game that felt like a really good return to form in many ways in the main lines, and the way that they've been able to progress through the RE engine each time, whether it's remake or mainline. This is, again, with some of the story elements, and some story elements have never been, the strongest in recent mainline games, but I think that this one has been stronger than the past few. And yeah, I really just genuinely think that like it's still like a solid 9 out of 10 for me, even with given some of those story elements and stuff that could have been tightened up. And again, pending DLC, so we'll see. So this conversation will continue with all of our respective channels and content when that continues. But very satisfied. Feels good for the 30th anniversary, and that was the biggest thing, because it doesn't seem like they're doing much else to celebrate besides, orchestra concerts and stuff like that. And that's fine. But I think for the 30th, I feel like this game at least felt like it was fulfilling within that. It didn't feel like a complete flop in that regard. So that's my quick little sum up there.
Yeah, much retorting the same, to be honest. 9 out of 10. It's just got those kind of Swiss cheese plot holes, which really stop it from being the GOAT of all time. But honestly, a fantastic experience, really enjoyable playthrough, and I'm genuinely looking forward to getting the Platinum Trophy.
Yeah, fantastic game. I'm really, really happy that this is actually a brand new Resident Evil game that's a numbered game, that's not a remake, that is actually a fantastic, awesome game. We haven't really had that at this caliber, in my opinion at least, since Resident Evil 4. So, I do think it's better than 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I'm really, really happy for the franchise going forward. Capcom gets it. Yes, they're leaning on Leon a bit there. But he's great, man. You can't complain. So, yeah, I love the game. I can't wait for more. Oh, you don't want to talk. Good.
Yeah, solid game. I'd say it's pretty high up there, like 8.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Can't wait for all 29 of our DLCs. Can't wait for Tofu 2 Electric Boogaloo with the updated music. It's gonna be sick. Can't wait to figure out who Leon is married to, because they made a big deal of showing off that ring. Who's that going to be? Is it going to be someone unrelated? Hunnigan, Ada, someone? I don't know.
Could actually be a dude.
Could be married. Hey, it might. It could.
Victor, and it didn't work out.
Got married to Salazar.
Leon was in Victor and
Exactly, dude. Married to the game, married to his work, you know. But yeah, when all 37 of those DLCs come out, it's going to be great.
He just keeps adding. 16, no, 32.
Every time it grows, yeah. No, but no, very solid. I was really happy at this return to form with the world and with the story. I like to see so much reconciling going on, not necessarily retconning, but just reconciling what has transpired in this world with what was there previously and what the sort of precise affiliations are between these different factions. I think that's really important. I think all of this sort of data and ARC and these files are strong and kind of reminding us that these are in fact bioweapons. Like it kind of brings everything back into the scope of these larger world objectives held by these sort of villains that want to cleanse the slate. You know, they all really fit into the same category. People like Wesker, people like Zeno, people like Nicholas Griffith from Caliban Cove. He wants to sweep the world clean and reduce people to animals, basically creatures of instinct. They can't really think. So that's really interesting. Yeah, because that was kind of like Wesker before Wesker. It was kind of like Griffith in Caliban Cove. And then also Dylan Blake in Death Island. So it kind of goes on and on. There was a figure even in the Resident Evil Netflix series that was going to be that, but they didn't really utilize him. And so it kind of shows you, like, from every angle, people always interpret that as being big in Resident Evil of like, I want to sweep the world and change it. I want to transcend the limitations of humankind. And there was a lot of that in this. And I think that, like, you know, a lot of the files are very deep and very intricate. And I think that it's, I don't think it's really good to see it be reduced to something like cloning. Like it's really not cloning. It's just really having the essence of these people live on through different vessels. And I think that like Resident Evil, like it really shines because it doesn't really have to rely on the overdone and over-tried and tired sci-fi tropes that we see a lot in a lot of other franchises. You know, there's always some unique angle of exploring that. So while it's not precisely cloning, it's something else, and it's within the realm and the body of different sort of experimentation that so many different types of villains are using in this franchise. Like how many times have we seen like storing, transferring of consciousness? You know, we see it in James Marcus, we see it a little bit in communicating with the consciousness of another in Osmond Sadler even. So it's like it's almost like you see that in the series more than you don't. I feel like that's really core, and to have that be sort of retroactively applied in this mutated T way, I think that's like really satisfying, and that gives a lot of these figures in the world a lot of their unique identity. Like for example, the girl Emily, right? With her collecting dolls, it gives you a glimpse of who she once was because she's retaining those past characteristics. She was a girl who loved dolls. It's just little bits like that. I think they wove them in really nice, and but yeah, very solid. A lot of what folks have said so far, barring like a few things, overall like very strong entry. Probably like the second or third highest I think of the RE Engine games for me. So
yeah, again, I enjoyed the game. The story just didn't hit for me. Yeah, why do I always have to follow you? Yeah. It's cool. So I guess we're going into our 10th game. I get this is like their money maker, but at the same time, it's like when are we going to bring the story to a close? You know,
Money, I don't think they're going to.
It's just like an infinity.
Like they had to bring closure to at least part of the story, so that's what they did with the Raccoon City kind of. Because like we're not going to go to Resident Evil 20. We have to wrap it up at some point. It's kind of like what I was saying. So yeah, how long are we going to go with this?
Yeah, that's my thing. It's just I would like to see. Yeah, I would just like to see everything come to a nice. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I just want to see everything come to a nice close. You know, let's wrap it up. You know. Anyways, that's just my thoughts, but yeah, I don't know if I have anything else on it really. We talked about it quite a bit.
Yeah. So for me, I did actually rank this one. I had to look it up back on Twitter and everything. And I did rank this high, and where I had the list of like the mod of like where I feel all the modern Resident Evil games are. Number 1, I put RE4 remake. 2, I put RE2 remake. 3 was Requiem. 4 was 3 remake, just because it's the fun factor in 3 remake. It's not a great remake, obviously. It's terrible, but the things you can do in that game is a lot of fun. A lot of crazy stuff is there. And then I put after that it goes Village, then 7, and then I put the gif there of just Guile getting pelted by crap because I knew people would be mad, and people were like so mad at that. And I was like, I'm not saying 7's bad. It's just I didn't like it that much. But with this one, they did. Like, there was just a lot of things that they did and just didn't work out towards the end. And I think if they really do listen to our feedback, I know like a lot of Japanese companies don't watch a lot of like YouTube videos. I know like Square Enix does when it comes to Final Fantasy, but they also like do like this. They put out the surveys. So if there's ever a survey that talks about like, hey, like how do you like want to take these stories? What did you like about this? Answer them, because Capcom, we do know for a fact, listens to those. That's why we got all those collections that have been coming out all these years lately and everything. And that's why, I mean, hell, they listened to people where they said that RE7 was too scary, so Village wasn't scary.
That was dumb.
Yeah, that was dumb. That was stupid.
And X was too intense, so they had to tone out Emmy in 3.
Yeah, exactly. And then like, what was the other one? Now people are like, I saw it a couple of days ago. People were complaining that 9 was too scary. I'm like, let's not go down this fucking road again.
It's a horror game.
Yeah, it's
You were scared it did its job.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like I said, it just there's just some ups and downs with this game, as we all talked about, and we just hope that the next one is a little bit more cohesive and makes more sense. I mean, actually, there was something none of us brought up, the ending of the game where where those guys. Yeah, and well, tough luck. The arc, when those guys come in and kill the BSAA agents, and like they're looking down at something. So my theory is either it's like I figure the Wolves are probably Chris's team or something. Them coming back or something. But I feel that they're either looking at like a surviving like piece of like Gideon or something, or they're looking at Timu Wesker's head or something. Yeah, and then they're gonna like reattach his head or something and bring him back somehow.
So you think they might be connections agents?
I think it's the connections, because I think those were those guys. I think
That could be a good rivalry
Right?
thing in the next game with the Wolves and
like I mean, like, we know that the BSAA is kind of crooked now.
Yeah.
Everything, we've known a lot of that stuff, and now we've got like the ability to have like these companies going after them, like Chris's team. Like all this stuff could work. So I guess I really hope that they listen to this feedback and they really go balls to the walls next time and connect a lot of stuff. So
one really quick thing, super quick. I think Nakanishi is a brilliant game maker. Yeah. I would love to see what it'd be like if he made a movie.
Yeah.
Let's see it.
Last thing I want to say is how does Dempsey still have a job, and how is he not in on this? Because like,
Grace, I
Bros-
still want that report.
yeah, I still want that report after that shit, dude. I quit. But like, for real, I thought he was in on it. Like, he was working with them to get her there, and then nothing happened about that. It's like, that was just, it's gonna be DLC. Yeah, 45. But yeah, I know that was really good. I think that we encapsulate everything. Now we're gonna turn it over to the community. We're gonna go through our super chats. If you guys got questions for us, let us know. I can't guarantee we'll read everything, but we'll try to touch on some things that maybe we missed. But I want to say thank you so much for coming by for this discussion. It's not over yet, but I just want to say thank you to over 600 people here, and we did hit our like goal of 500. So to say thank you, I am going to gift out 5 Row Squad memberships. Thank you guys very much. Let's grow the row, and let's welcome our new members. There's quite a bit here, so thank you guys so much for the support, the super chats. We appreciate it a ton. I'm using all that funding to buy myself a BOW. I want a Mr. X. I think that's what I'm going to go for. So sorry, you're doing great, but I'm going to need probably like another, 130 million more.
Come on, man, I want a chunk.
Bob wants a chunk. Yeah, Mr. X. Do I want a Gideon that'll just like follow everything I want?
it was actually cool that they broke down what each bio.
I love that, and I didn't notice that they broke down each BOW in the sales chart until I was watching your stream, and I was like, oh shit, we missed this. Yeah, that was cool.
There's like 14 million or something.
Yeah, I would get a liquor too.
Just to get a dog that runs like this.
Yeah.
Damn, you got
So some people collect Lambos and stuff, and other people just collect BOWs.
just got like 75 McLarens just running.
All right, we got Yova kicking off the super chats with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much for your support, Yova. He says, hey, JJ and Row Squad, how about Resident Evil 9 Game of the Year? DLC guaranteed. Capcom better explain the Xeno Wesker clone and get the OG out of the basement. Loved Resident Evil 9. Who's the OG in the basement? And get the OG out of the...
Wesker.
Oh, Wesker? Okay. Yeah, I think it was fantastic, though. I really do think it's going to be hard to contend with that game for Game of the Year. I think and with the reviews it's getting, I'm very happy for the series, and I'm happy it's doing so well. GTA 6 coming out, though.
GTA 6 is going to wipe that floor.
Yeah. We got Kanan with the 9 months. Bravo team, thank you for 9 months of support. We appreciate that. Resident Evil 9 is amazing so far. Glad you're enjoying it, brother. Thank you. We got Swartz AJ, 74 months. Bravo team, thank you for the long time support. Holy crap. That's thank you. We appreciate that. They cracked the code. Resident Evil 9 cracked the code. And I do feel like through and through, it's very tough to have two completely different games in one and pull it off. And
I don't know if they'll ever try that again, though. Do you think they'll try it again and have a split, or do you think they might? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a tough one. It worked, but I don't know how many times it will work, and I don't know if they would want to try that again. So I guess
I think it's going to depend on the overall reception of how people fill out these reports. Like Tony was saying, did we like this? Did we not?
Yeah.
So I mean, be sure to give your feedback when you see these big news outlets getting information.
Yeah.
So
definitely. We got Outright Turtle Gaming, 7 months recruit. Thank you for over half a year. How do I become a member 10 of the Row family? Well, we usually, because we got a pretty big team now, but we usually look for areas that we're not able to cover. Like I do news and gaming, and Becky does lore and analysis, and Tony joins for discussion. So we each have a role here, and if there's an area that we feel like would be a service to the community, we will seek out people that can help in those areas. But team's still growing. Scott Dempsey with the $5 super chat. Thank you, Scott. What up? Got the whole crew. I think it's an end to the classic Umbrella arc while setting up the connections going forward. Just a bit messy. If any of you guys, by the way, want to reply to any of these, just stick your hand out and I'll give you the mic and let you reply to it. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to the connections route, which I like. Robbie Sarson, 4 months. Bravo team. Thank you for almost half a year. Man, I do not have any complaints about the game at all. It is one of the top on my list favorites for sure. Well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you enjoyed it so much. Yeah, very cool. IQ Bios with the $5 super chat and on the stage is showing the support. We appreciate it. And with another $2 super chat. Thank you. RE9 Addiction Fatigue. Okay, you're getting fatigued by it. So everybody's different. Some people love it, some people not so much. That's what's fun about these discussions is, when you don't agree, it's good to have that. iCube, welcome to Row Squad Bravo team. Thank you for becoming a member. We got Justin Bird with an insanely generous 20 gifted Row Squad memberships. Row the row, brother. Thank you so much for that. Please, everybody get those birds in the chat for Justin Bird. Let's welcome our 20 new members. We got Brandon Salisbury. How's it going, Brandon? Thank you for coming by, and thank you so much for that very generous $10 super chat. He says, hey guys, hope the premiere went well and you're all having a great time. Hope to see some of you in Gettysburg for the 30th anniversary. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, brother. It went fantastic. We're actually, Corey and I are going to be at the Gettysburg, and Tony might be coming to that as well. So the original Resident Evil cast and then the three of us. So that'll be very fun. Thank you, dude. Johnny Boy with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Johnny Boy, for your support. I agree with Tony. The chapter select would have made things better. Also, East Raccoon City section outside of the spider part was a pain in my opinion. I think a lot of us agreed with that. Yes, definitely. Yeah. We got Stuart with a very generous 5 gifted Row Squad memberships. Thank you for growing the row. Please, everybody give it up to Stuart. Let's welcome our 5 new members. We got Manders 90. Welcome to Row Squad Recruit. Let's all welcome Manders to the Row Squad. We got Indy Indica Hybrid. There you go. The $2 super chat. Thank you.
Best friends, Brandon from back home. Shout out to Brandon.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's who he is. So
Cool. Thank you for that. Tony Brian plays Victor. Oh, that's the actor. I would like to get him on for an interview. I think we should probably do that. We're going to start reaching out to these actors and see if we can get them on for the Row podcast. Silenceville Elkinoth with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Elkinoth. Hey, Row fam. Just want to say hi and congrats for everything yesterday. What a blast. Love you all and see you at the next project. Yes, it was nice meeting you and seeing you again for the premiere of Resurrection. So thank you for coming by and thank you for your support, dude. Raccoon City Pizza with a $2 super chat. Thank you for the pizza fund. What happens in Raccoon City stays in Raccoon City. I think he's confusing Raccoon City with Vegas because we're all in Vegas right now. Yeah.
I don't know. What happens to Raccoon City stays in Raccoon City, except for Raccoon City virus. That shit comes back.
Yeah, that was good. I hope they heard that. But yeah, it was nice to see you too, dude. Thank you. Gav Isles with the $5 super chat. Thank you for your support. Resident Evil Requiem would have been a walk in the park for Ethan Winters.
Light work, my boy.
I knew Bob would chime in. He loves Ethan. You don't know about that one, brother. iCube with a $2 super chat. Thank you for your support once again. Beggy has Elpis peep her black gloves. Don't spread it. Get out of here. We don't want to get Elpis. Wait, no, it's not Elpis. Elpis is good. It's good. We don't want RCS, though. Keep that shit out of here, dude. Get all moldy. Benjamin, welcome to Rose Squad Recruit. Thank you for becoming a member. Let's all welcome Benjamin to the Rose Squad. We got Nicholas Castle. Good to hang out with you too, dude. I asked him at the end of the night too when we're all tipsy. I was like, you did write everything down because you're our official scribe. And he said, yeah, dude, I got notes. So good job to our official scribe of the row. 50 months recruit where we hear, oh my God, holy crap. Nick Castle says, we hear boys in Vegas. Tonight's the night. Tonight's the night. I got to go to bed early because we leave tomorrow morning, but you enjoy your night, Nicholas. And we got Jay Sylvester with a £2. Thank you, Jay, for your support. Good to see you as well. What about it, Brandon Bailey, Resident Evil 10? Do you want to say anything on that?
Sure.
Because I know you've talked about it before.
Yeah, I feel like many of us, through speculation, even in past entries, we have been kind of looking at who is the actual leader of this giant faction now, this rival company called the Connections, and it's like we have someone in the universe that we have never really revealed who was once, as revealed through the Resident Evil 5 sort of lore files, to be a disciple of James Marcus. And now that we know that James Marcus is very much affiliated with all of this revenge plot against Spencer through the Connections, where is he? What's going on? Was he basically the body that became Xeno? What's going on? That would be interesting if they explained it that way, because that would be the final sort of finisher for this plot between Umbrella versus the Connections, is if we found that Brandon Bailey somehow died for some reason, or maybe he's still alive, or maybe he died, but maybe he transferred his memory successfully. Or sorry, scratch that. Maybe he was his own person and he liked to smoke, and then he had Wesker's blood through the affiliation with HCF and Tricell, took it, did a successful transfer, and then underwent that blood transformation, got Wesker's physiology and his advantages, his speed and his strength. And Xeno is Brandon Bailey. He's the body that was, and then he took on Wesker's stuff, became powerful, and then before he could enact his final plot to basically do mind control, he realized that's not what Elpis was at all, and he got killed. So if they do a DLC explaining that Xeno was actually Brandon Bailey before he did a memory transfer of Wesker, that would be really interesting. That's what I'm wondering. He only, that's the thing. He never showed his face. He only existed through the files as a disciple of James Marcus. So he was a pupil.
There was a lot of speculation that Brandon Bailey was going to be in this game leading up to it. Yeah. So anyone else want to? They could be leading into it. Yeah.
Well, I do like that, but then that means that Brandon Bailey, this guy behind the scenes that we haven't seen yet, is kind of stupid. A little stupid. Yeah. But no, I think that's cool. I would like that actually. We got Leon Redfield with an incredibly generous $50 super chat. Big donation. Thank you so much, Leon Redfield. Please, everybody, give it up to Leon for that support. I meant chat, but thank you guys for doing that too. Hell yeah. We got, I think Xeno is a clone. The Tyrants were clones of Sergei Vladimir in Umbrella Chronicles. Even Prime Albert Wesker hinted at being cloned in Resident Evil 5 Lynn with, so you are saying I was manufactured. Capcom were inspired by the movies too, if you notice. Yeah, and I agree with you. Like that makes sense. I just like Andrew, I share the same thoughts about, I personally don't like clones because I feel like when you start cloning things, just like time travel and all this, like it's just kind of like a lazy way of writing. You kind of, puppeting. You can kind of box yourself into a corner, but yeah.
Any other franchise?
And then it doesn't work out. I mean, I get it though. Resident Evil is a lot of cloning. This game had a lot of cloning, so that would make sense. P2D2 with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for your support. Shout out to Ant and Ro, a true Marvelverse Capcom team up. Hell yeah, dude. Oh, they kissed them. We appreciate you, Ant.
No, it's good beer. Good beer. Yes.
Appreciate everybody here talking about this and being with all of you guys. Row team, it's nice to see all of you, but and Dave, to have you guys added to this conversation. I think this was, I really enjoyed this conversation on Requiem. So I just thank you guys for being part of this.
Yeah, man, and this whole weekend has been incredible.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just been fantastic.
Hell yeah. Oh, we got Jujitsu with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Jujitsu. What do you guys think will happen in 10? And what do you want to see? Love the stream and awesome to see Ant involved. But we'll make it real quick. But I'll pass it on and let you guys say what you would like to see in 10.
Real quick, I would love to see a Jill and Chris game, please. Make it work. Yes, that is all.
It's going to be a bit hard. I suppose we're going to need to put Chris and Leon together at some point. Otherwise, they're just going to out testosterone each other somehow. So, I think that's inevitably what's going to happen on RE10. But obviously, as we know, Code Veronica Remake is coming next, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I would love to see a Leon Chris game. They may be hinting at it for a DLC. We don't know. But as far as otherwise, Chris and Jill, I think would be much needed. Jill hasn't been in a game in I don't know how long, many years. So I think Jill's overdue. So yeah, Chris, Jill, or even just Jill. We'll see.
Yeah, I also thought the Leon Chris thing too when we finished the first playthrough too. But I'm just repeating everyone else. So here you go, Bob.
Yeah, 110% Jill needs to be in the game. Like if she's not in 10, I'm sure that like the fans are going to riot. They're going to bite someone's arm off or something. Like we need to see her. She hasn't been like a playable character since RE3, which is, how old? Like it's kind of crazy to think about. She main character, haven't really seen her. She's just been like scooted under the rug after all this time. So either got to come back or address it in like the 50th DLC or something. So
yeah, I love what we've seen at the end with the Hound Wolf Squad. Captain Redfield has a message for you, all this kind of stuff. I love where that's headed. I love this strife that keeps developing between the Hound Wolf Squad and what was the BSAA, which was their former unit, and that's essentially like I always thought that was cool. That's really like the hook that inspired a lot of the premise of Resurrection. So it's just like going in that direction, seeing what's going on with Chris, kind of tying that up, and then sort of putting Jill at a very sort of momentous position in that story. I think that would hit really hard. That would be really satisfying. So yeah.
I would like to see, like what you said, the was it the BSAA at the end that was in that end scene or yeah. I would like to see them just go at it.
BSAA.
Yeah, with the Hound Wolf. The bad BSA. Yeah, that would be cool. I do think we need to. I want to see the main characters that we all grew up with. Just they don't have to be playable. Just give them some cutscenes, interacting with each other. Like, why are we ignoring these people so much? I don't understand. So if we could do that, that would be awesome. And let's maybe tell a easier story to follow. And something, again, for me, I know nobody agrees with this, but I just want to see it wrap up nicely and a little bow on top. So that's just me.
Bring back Billy. Oh, Billy. I don't know. Like RE10 and everything, that might seem like a ways off and such, but as everybody else has already said, I think like Chris and Leon have got a thing going here with all their investments, like what they're tied to, and I think that they'd be the best choices. I don't know if you'd like want to do like a co-op thing with them or anything like that, because I think with the way they're going, yeah, I think going like co-op and stuff would be the way to go, because it doesn't seem like the route they're going is horror related. Throw Jill in there, have Chris and Jill be on a team, Leon, and like you could swap them and everything like that. Like some like parts of the story, it's like Leon and Chris and everything like that for a while. Like help bring like Helena back for whatever reason, or Sheva. Because everybody's dying to get Sheva back into these games. I keep seeing it more and more, and the more Eva keeps posting about it, like the more people just want to see her back. So we've got that and everything. You could do that for those stories and have the 2 campaigns, and I think keeping it like a little action focus at that would be probably people's best bet, especially if Code Veronica really is happening. That's where you're going to get your horror from a game. So I think 10, just go the co-op route and make a bunch of people happy, and figure out where these Chris and his team are going with all these other corporations that are still out there and pulling some weird shit. I think that's your best bet.
Yeah, I want. They've been setting this up now with the corrupted BSAA and the connections now for quite a few games. I want to see the original Surviving Stars band together with the Hound Wolf squad. I want, I want Chris with Jill and Rebecca and Barry, and they're part of the Hound Wolf squad, and I want them to take down the connections, remove what's plaguing the BSAA. Kind of like wrapping it up with a nice bow on it, like Andrew said. Like, yeah, let's take this company down. Now's the time. You don't have to play as all of them, but you could have A and B. You could have Chris and Jill and Rebecca and Barry. I think that'd be fantastic. Yep. So we got a few more here. We got Saxy Man with a $5 super chat. Thank you. Jill has the lingering effects from Wesker experiments. That makes her not age. So she would still be in her prime current day. Yeah, I didn't like that they did that, but like whatever Wesker was trying to search for, he should have just did what Jill did. Dude, she lives forever and she never ages. Jesus, she had the key the whole time. We got Clay with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Clay. Who's y'all's favorite character? Any game? Just shout it out real quick. Mine is Leon.
Leon.
Jilly.
Chris.
Leon.
Alex Wesker.
Really?
Said Alex Wesker. I don't know if you could hear that.
Leon, Chris. Yeah.
Jill.
Cool. Nobody said Ethan. I thought that was definitely going to be Bob.
No, I know better.
And then we got P2D2 again with another $10 super chat. Thank you so much for your very generous support. My take, Xeno is Albert. Is it anticlimactic? Sure, but a beautiful chess move by Spencer, beating Wesker in the end. Then serious irony to be killed as a human. To that, what if what if it was Wesker and then they didn't off him, and then like the idea of having the originals come back together and to take down the connections, and now they have to fight Wesker again?
Wesker and RE5 was a clone.
I don't know, dude.
That's what one of the super chats implied.
Yeah.
With the are you saying I was manufactured when Spencer approaches, but that would really cheapen the original Wesker project story of the 13 originals, 2 survived.
Yeah.
Like if they're all just created in a factory or something, that would be
It's like loads of Weskers.
I hate to bring this up, but didn't they do that in that Netflix series?
Oh
my
what
God.
Berto?
I don't want to talk about it. They did do that.
Is that canon or is that not canon?
No.
That's not canon. That's absolutely not canon. Thank the Lord.
Ordering breadsticks is canon now.
All right, that's it. We are all caught up. Thank you for your support. I'm reading the chat to see if there's anything else on here that we might have missed, but I think we pretty much touched on everything at some point during this. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming by for our review. I hope you enjoyed it. Massive thank you for over 500 likes or almost 600 likes. Keep it going. We appreciate it. Helps the channel. And thank you to everybody here for taking part in this event we had this weekend and for this review. It's been an absolute blast. I'm going to pass the mic and let you guys give some closing. And
Yeah, just been an incredible ride with going into the 30th anniversary, going into Resurrection, finally coming out soon. We worked really hard on it. So again, just stay tuned for that. March 22nd, 30th anniversary of RE. It's just been a fantastic time to be a Resident Evil fan, to say the least. So yeah, just incredible. And I'm just happy to be here for the ride. And check me out on Let's Talk Resident Evil if you haven't yet.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Obviously, fantastic weekend hanging out with all you fine folk. An amazing event on Saturday. Not sure if we'll be able to do it again in that capacity again, so I'm happy we have managed to do it. Yeah, it's just been absolutely fantastic. Capcom still really haven't announced their plans for like the 30th anniversary. So outside of like the orchestra stuff, yeah.
The video game arcade thingy.
Oh yeah, well that was already out in the UK anyway. The RE2 arcade cabinet. So I'll be very interested to see if Capcom do something with the classics or DLC. Yeah. No, but something. They've got to do something more than just Resident Evil 9. It'd be nice to get a real celebration of 30 years of Resident Evil. Also, Biohazard Classified.
But yeah, I'm Super Metal Dave 64. I've been doing YouTube since 2010. Getting to know JJ and crew here. Thanks for having me on. But yeah, I cover Switch 2 on my channel. I do PC gaming as well. But we've been really excited because Capcom has been throwing their support on Nintendo's side. And of course, if you're a Resident Evil fan, you would like more people to play these games. So that's the really exciting thing about Switch 2 is that they're actually getting these games and they're actually pretty good. So yeah, if you're interested in checking that out, see me on YouTube and yeah. But thanks for having me on, and see you soon.
I just want to say thank you to everybody that's came to this chat, and thank you to guys for this weekend. It's been great. The premiere was awesome. It turned out amazing. And that's about it. Thank you guys, and here you go, Bob.
Yeah, this weekend was phenomenal. Like the reception was exceptional. It's better than we could have hoped it for. Can't wait to see what everyone thinks of it when it comes out March 22nd again on the channel. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and follow all these nice people on all their socials. But yeah, it's been a great ride, and happy to see what's going on in the future. Can't wait for all 59 of the DLCs.
Number increased again. But yeah, thank you so much everyone for tuning in. This was a really good discussion. I feel like we kind of approached it from many different angles and understood many different ways of sort of interpreting the story and like the whole like the package of Requiem. But yeah, we're really happy with it overall. Very, very happy with all that they've done with the lore, all that they've done with Grace's report. There's a lot of value there. I think just taking the sort of decision to do that, it shows that they're thinking about like the big legacy, the long-term sort of legacy and like where this franchise has been going. And they are, I think cleaning up a lot of the threads that they had open. We're seeing more of those start to get filled, and that's really satisfying. Going back and looking at someone like James Marcus and kind of like setting that up for a possible Resident Evil 0 remake, that's like very exciting to me. So there's a lot going on there. And then, yeah, obviously for Resurrection, great weekend. This has just been such a long time in the making. It doesn't even feel like the world is the same as when we started the conception of Resurrection like 2 years ago. Like it was December in 2023 when I was writing the first draft of that. And so many things have evolved since then. So many talented people have onboarded to the project to make it what it is now. But yeah, it was truly special, momentous, amazing to be able to screen that. I can't wait for all of you on YouTube to see it too. So thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you for everyone that tuned in. I think we've all just been dying to have a group discussion about this ever since the game came out. And like now it's just the time that we're all together. So it just made sense. So for those of you watching, thanks for tuning in. And for those of you that supported Resurrection, a Biohazard story, thank you. I could not have done this without you. So yeah, we're all here because of you guys. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no, we had a great time for Resurrection last night. It was like pretty much a packed house, and everybody for every like big scene that happened just like lost their minds completely. Like it was the cheering for when any of the actors showed up, the big surprises that we had. People just like kept like hooting and hollering and stuff. It was, you don't really see a lot of stuff like that in like real life movie theaters where you get like super stoked about stuff unless you go to like an Avengers level event kind of a thing. So like that was, I guess, kind of like our Avengers Assemble moment, was just getting all those actors on screen, and from everything that happened in it, people were just like cheering the whole time. So that meant a lot for all of us who worked tirelessly on that project from beginning to end or at any point in between. So, thank you for all those who came out. And again, when it does come out on the channel, please make sure to share that everywhere and comment on it and like it, because that actually really does help out a lot. And we really want fans from every generation to see this this film, because it is truly something special, the likes of which no one's ever done before. And it's really incredible, and you guys are going to enjoy it when it's out on the 22nd. So one hell of a way to bring in the 30th anniversary, that's for sure.
Very well said.
All right, just a couple of the quick super chats to catch up on real quick. We got Leon Redfield with a $10 super chat. Thank you. Remember, they closed Dr. Isaacs in the movies too, and I believe they took cues from Final Chapter, because Raccoon City was also not fully destroyed, and Alice went back into that too. Hey, we don't. No.
Talk about predictive combat software, 100% activated. Okay.
And Dark Chaos, thank you for joining Rogue Squad Recruit, guys. That's gonna be it. Thank you all so much for coming by. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your support, and we hope to see you back at the Residence of Evil. Good night, everybody.
See you.
Hell yeah.